Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Night Owl, a show that we do twice a week where we talk about all the latest in pop culture news, TV and movie reviews, gaming news, and just the general topics of the day. Those of you who don't already know, I'm Price of Reason, and with me, as always, is my co host, Professor R2. How's it going, Professor?
Doing all right. Busy season for me, but I'm making it through. It's life.
What can you do? There's times that
Yep.
are busier and times that are less busy.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Everybody has those different rhythms to life.
definitely. I feel like this past month or two, I've had less time, to do certain things, and sometimes you have periods of times like that things are happening and you have to kind of adjust. But one thing's for sure, this is the Night Owl, and
We are here.
we're here to discuss what it is that we always discuss. Dead Man Says Tell Jokes. That's what I usually tell you.
Yeah. Uh why did the chicken cross the road?
uh, is this a trick? Is it to get to
No,
the other
it's
side,
just
or
to
is
get to
this?
the other side. Yeah,
It
except the
wasn't.
other side is the afterlife. Oh,
I see.
just kidding. I don't know. I have no idea.
You're tired. You're more tired than I am today, but we're gonna get through this. This is our late night stream, and we're gonna make it happen. And speaking of making it happen, today there was some interesting things going on at the White House because there was a meeting with uh, Donald Trump and Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney. He's the guy that they recently elected. Very strange choice because it seemed like after all these years, Justin Trudeau was finally kind of stepping down, and the guy that replaced him was like Justin Trudeau version 2, 2.0, whatever you want to call it.
Justin Trudeau, but kind of older and more conservative looking, but not really. I know. I feel like we need Vex here to tell us all about it. But
She actually get put in a comment here, Vex
yeah,
Electronica. The only eye Carney is looking into is the one at the parliamentary glory hole. That's funny. I did actually send her an invite. Either she didn't look at it or she's not saying anything because she's going to sleep. See, I like the idea. I like the idea of the Vex Electronica. In order to go to sleep, she likes hearing, our voices. And specifically, I'm being selfish here, also my voice.
listening
That
to
whole
us
situation,
ramble.
it
Yeah.
sounds cool. I like that whole setup. But at the same time, on one hand, I'm into it, and on the other hand, it's kind of I'm hurt by it at the same time. My feelings are hurt that the only thing I'm good for is that I put her to sleep, you know? Vex Electronica, she invented the, "Hey, why don't I listen to Price of Reason so I can fall asleep?" That's like, I hope she patented that.
Yeah. You should definitely. You could make a whole series of you know tracks that people could play on YouTube to fall asleep to.
Here, she wrote, "I don't have Twitter on my phone anymore, and I am indeed in bed. I
Oh,
suspected that you were Vex."
yeah.
Again, like I said, flattered and offended at the same time. It's just strange. Only Vex could create a situation like this. Elizabeth Quince, she is smiling and has shades on. So it's good to see people here, and people are gathering, and we're here at the Night Owl. First of all, of course, if you're on Rumble, which is our headquarters for this show, you should sign up if you haven't already signed up, and you should follow us if you haven't already followed us and get notifications. And if you're on any other platform, you should subscribe and follow and do all that good stuff. And do a like and leave comments. I don't know what. Hope I got all of that out of the way. Hey, Caleb Avina, nice to see you. So, yeah, so we had Kelly Hahn says, "I have your videos under my sleep playlist." I don't know what to say. Is it my videos on this channel or the ones that I do reviews? That's great to know that my reviews, people are like, "I need a good sleep. I'll put on some of his reviews."
Yeah. I think it's interesting that your review. I've watched a number of reviews this week for Thunderbolts. Obviously, I saw it myself, but I've been watching some of the usual suspects, some of the people that I respect, and different people, and it's kind of been kind of fascinating the real like differences in opinion. When we were on Brown's channel on Sunday, kind of the some of the difference of opinions between like it's complete garbage and no, it's okay. Maybe it's not a bad movie, and some people getting like genuinely offended that you might actually think it wasn't but terrible. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I have strange situations. Even in my video that I did a review, I had like some people, "Do you know the drinker said he didn't like it?" Sometimes I get these comments. It's like, okay, first of all, I'm not the critical drinker. I suppose that if you wanted to watch his review, you could watch it. I watch his reviews. I like his reviews, and sometimes he'll say something about a movie, and maybe I'll have a different opinion than him. A lot of the times I actually agree with at least some of the stuff that he says, or we have some takes. Sometimes also there could be a movie where, let's say, he says like, a bunch of things that I actually agree with, but then there's like a performance of an actor that he's like, I hated this performance, and I say, you know what, I kind of like the performance. So there's never 100% that everybody's going to have the same opinion, nor should it be that way. And when it came to this movie, so he hated the movie, and I said that it was kind of like mediocre but passable. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
I haven't heard many people that came out and say, "Hey, you know what? This is better than Iron Man." You know what I mean? I
No, no.
it's not like there's people going the range of criticism on the Thunderbolts is either you hated it or you thought it was like mildly watchable. This is like the range of what you're getting. And I think that, it depends on people's level of tolerance or what they're willing to tolerate. I don't think anybody is getting confused here and thinking this is like a groundbreaking movie.
Yeah. Well, we'll come back. We'll talk some more about the Thunderbolts later. Before we get into talking about Mark Carney and his visit, what is it? Mark Carney? I can't remember. What
He reminds me of Art Carney, who
Art
used
Carney?
to be Art Carney, who used to be on The Honeymooners.
Art Carney. Yeah. We do have a super chat that we got before the show even started from the Dead Man, so we should probably go ahead and
I'm
talk
gonna do
about
that
that
in
real
one
quick.
second, but quickly, I just want to say Vex Electronica says, "Seems people don't understand that they can still like a movie, can also be objectively bad, and vice versa." Yeah, and also sometimes a movie is just kind of mediocre, and if you're in the mood for like a popcorn movie, I like seeing movies. I like going to theater. I have like this thing where I can see a bunch of movies every month. It's like a pass where you pay like a fee and you can see like as many movies as you want. So I like that whole experience. And for me to go to a movie theater and sit there, if it's even just an okay popcorn movie, sometimes I'm okay with that. I understand that within the context of the MCU, you could easily claim that this movie Thunderbolts is disappointing if you compare it to all the great movies that have been in the MCU. But at the same time, it's also not the worst movie of the MCU because there were worse than that for sure. And as a popcorn movie that was kind of silly and mindless and whatever, I was able to sit there and if nothing else, I didn't suffer. I didn't walk out thinking, "Wow, I love this movie." I thought, "Oh, whatever, it's okay, I guess. Not really great." That's the things that I was thinking. It's not a ringing endorsement. I wasn't sitting around like calling people like, "You got to go see this movie." So the fact that like I said, "Wow, it's kind of mediocre," some people are angry. Or
Yeah.
some people on my review actually said like, "You're a hater," because I didn't say it's great. Like, there's other things except for great and shitty.
Yeah. There can be things that are just okay.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And then, Elizabeth Quince, and I'll get to the super chat in a second.
Yep.
Elizabeth Quince, one of my godmothers was a newspaper film critic. You must know the critic's baseline. That is why you follow a critic. You can understand their critique, agree or not. Uh,
Yeah.
Price skated over my other comment for fear of demonetization. What was it? I'm trying to find which one it was. I actually said the thing with Thunderbolts dried out my thunder
Can't.
private parts.
Can't.
Okay, exactly.
Yeah.
Here I didn't skate over it, but what can you do? I mean, at least you had Bucky Barnes there. I would think that wouldn't make it that as dry. Not that I even know what I'm talking about. Okay. Uh, where were we? Okay, the super
Yeah.
chat. That's
Yeah.
right.
The
Let me
super
try to
chat.
find that. I wanted to go to a super chat. I ended up talking about Vex's private parts.
Hey, it's the night owl.
It's the
What
night
can you
owl.
do? What
That's
can you
just some of
do?
what what people can expect here. Uh, Okay, let's see what he wrote here, what the dead man wrote here, and I'm gonna share it right now. Start screen share. It says, "Sorry, Price, but I can't help but derail the conversation. What other songs are better than the original? Guns N' Roses, Knocking on Heaven's Door comes to mind. I do like that the Phobos actually said, The Dead Man Hendrix all along the Watchtower. I agree. I like that. Johnny Cash shirt. A lot of people love his version. I'm okay with it. You know, I think some people like. I like Johnny Cash, but when I listen to Johnny Cash, I don't often listen to that for some reason. Honestly, half of Dylan's songs, Eric Clapton, Cocaine. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Mhm. Yeah. I think, Joe Cocker's version of "With a Little Help from My Friends" is better than the Beatles.
It's a good version. It's absolutely a good version. I think this one isn't better. I can't believe I'm saying this is just so weird, but I think that Tom Jones singing Prince's Kiss gives us like he gives us a different vibe. There's a lot of
Yeah,
fun.
very different vibe, yeah.
It's like this playful fun vibe, and it's an interesting case where the original singer, you know, sang it wonderfully. I mean, Prince is he absolutely, that's his song. It's a signature song. But when you hear Tom Jones do it, he brings such a playful and fun vibe to it that I kind of like that as well. Another good example that involves Prince is actually the song what's it called? Nothing Compares to You. So he actually wrote the song. It was his song, but the person that made it popular, that really recorded the famous version, is Sinead O'Connor, who passed away. And with the exception of those early years that she was indeed talented, she completely went off the rails and, had, if I'm being polite, I mean, I don't want to speak ill of the dead. She was not the most mentally healthy person.
Mm-mm.
But with that being said, she was talented. I mean, it's easy to gloss over that because I think that after that early part of her career, where she just was going around singing and doing a good job at doing that, she went completely bonkers. Uh, and it wasn't even like a one-off thing. Like her whole life, she just like continued to go more, in my personal opinion, more and more bonkers. Uh, but I will say that she was talented, especially in the early years, and her version of "Nothing Compares to You" legitimately a good performance of the song, and I would say that I like her performance better than Prince's.
Yeah,
Okay, the Dead
yeah.
Man. What else? Let's think of a few. What other covers do you think there are
Oh
that are
gosh.
good? George Harrison, "I Got My Mind Set on You." Nobody even knows that song. I've dated myself. They're just like, the dinosaurs are now Googling. There's like a T-Rex like with Google now looking when that song was released.
Let's
I'm trying to
see.
think what
Yeah, I'm
else.
trying to think of some others. I'm gonna have to look it up.
Always something there to remind me. I think that again, dating myself, nobody knows that
Mm.
song or remembers it, but it was a song in the '80s that initially I think it was like from 50 years earlier or something, and they completely made it like a different vibe. You know what song I'm talking about?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, hey, I know one.
Okay.
"Hurt," performed by Johnny Cash.
That was on his list. That was on his Defoe's list.
Yeah. Was that on there?
It was on
Oh,
there.
okay. I wasn't looking at the chat. Yeah.
I actually,
I was
you know
trying to think.
what? I was saying that I'm just okay with it, but go on if you
No,
liked
no,
it.
I
So.
just no, I just really I really enjoy that version, especially if you've ever seen the music video that they filmed to go with it. It's really moving.
It's solid. It's solid, man. I'm not going to say that
Yeah.
it's not solid. Also, I like the song "Always." You were always on my mind.
Mhm.
Uh, I mean, it's that one's a tough one. I like the Willie Nelson version, but I also like the Elvis version, and I'm gonna really surprise some people here. I even kind of like the Pet Shop Boys version. Sometimes that happens. There's people bring different character to different songs. There's also the song, I think, "Tainted Love." "Tainted Love" is like a
Yes.
staple '80s song.
Yes.
Most people, it's such an '80s song that they don't even know that that came from like a much older song.
Yeah, no, I had no idea. I only learned that, like, 2 or 3 years ago. I was like,
Yeah,
"Wait,
yeah.
what? That was before this was a
Because
remake?"
really, they
Wow.
really made it their own. "I Will Always Love You," Whitney Houston. That's a better. I like
Yeah,
Dolly
yeah.
Parton. Dolly Parton, is a very talented singer. I think that Whitney Houston knocked that one out of the park. Joan Jett, I Love Rock and Roll.
Yes,
Again,
I was just thinking of that one. I was just thinking that I Love Rock and Roll because that was originally who originally performed that? I don't even remember.
it was some band that I don't know. I forgot their names now. They're so forgettable that I don't even remember. Um, Also, again, not a song that I listen to every second, but I objectively, if you ever hear the two versions, Cyndi Lauper, the song "Girls Just Want to Have Fun," that's a
Mhm.
cover.
Oh,
The
yeah.
original one, there was a bunch of dudes singing "Girls Just Want to Have Fun." Not the same thing. It doesn't quite work. Whether you like it or not, that song is kind of like a staple, and the way that she sings it is the way that I think it's the good way. But yeah, there's a lot of songs. Finally, I'll say I think that Blue Moon probably originally was this kind of very slow song, like Blue Moon, and they're
Mhm.
singing and serenading and whatever. But then there's a doo-wop version that they're like ba 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 ba. You know what I mean? There's something like that. I
Yes.
like that one. The Ramones had some great covers. Ramones, people sometimes don't even realize that they did a lot of covers and stuff. Uh,
Yeah.
and usually they managed to take songs that would have sounded really cheesy kind of initially, but when you hear the Ramones do it, they make it cool. So a lot of examples.
Oh,
The
yeah.
Dead Man,
Ramones make everything cool. No
I agree
question.
with you. The Dead Man, I think we gave you a lot of
That's a lot
options.
for your $5, buddy. Yeah.
Ramones had needles and pins. They had was Do You Want to Dance? They also gave stuff that if you hear the original, it's kind of just okay, but then when you hear them doing it, also Joey Ramone did It's a Wonderful Life. I mean, he did that with a few other members of the band, but that was considered a solo release. Anyhow, there have been some cool songs over the years. Whew. All right. John Mayer's Magnolia, as Defobo said. Aretha Franklin's Respect. That's a good example.
Mhm.
Tell Me Something Good by Rufus is a Stevie Wonder song, but Chaka Khan kills it. I like Chaka Khan during those days. Ain't
Mhm.
Nobody is a good song. I don't know how he got here. Nobody else does. We're probably left with 3 viewers at this point. They're
Yeah.
like, why are they talking about Rufus and Chaka Khan in the middle of
Yeah.
the night?
Well, why would you not talk about Rufus and Chaka
We
Khan?
have to.
Come on.
Oh,
Yeah.
California Girls, David Lee Roth, Dead Man,
Yeah.
that's a good one. I actually thought that's a good one,
Yeah.
even though I don't know if it's better than the original. You can't take away from the Beach Boys, so that's a very Beach Boys song.
Mhm.
Anyhow, the Prime Minister of Canada.
Speaking of
Spe-
covers,
Speaking of covers, the Prime Minister.
Canada is a cover of the United States. No, I'm just kidding.
Right. Speaking of that, the Prime Minister of Canada was here. A guy who seems like Trudeau version 2.0, and he came to the White House, and it was a very strange meeting. I don't know if you've seen some clips from it. I thought it was kind of strange.
Yeah, I have seen a few.
Let me see. I think I
I've
have a
got even
few.
I have one queued up here. We can watch
Okay,
here
let's do it.
if you want to find another one here. Let me
I'm going to
pull it up
share
here.
screen.
Share.
Oh
Oh,
wait, you're sharing screen.
yeah, I've got to share. You
Okay.
want to? Yeah. So, and I got one clip here. This was part of their conversation later on.
As you know from real estate, there are some places that are never for sale.
That's true.
We're sitting in one right now, Buckingham Palace that you visited as well.
That's true.
And having met with the owners of Canada over the course of the campaign last several months, it's not for sale, won't be for sale ever. But the opportunity is in the partnership and what we can build together. And we have done that in the past. And part of that, as the president just said, is with respect to our own security. And my government is committed for a step change in our investment in Canadian security and our partnership. And I'll say this as well, that the president has revitalized international security, revitalized NATO, and us playing our full weight in NATO, and that will be part of it.
They have, I must say, Canada is stepping up the military participation because Mark knew, they were low and now they're stepping it up. And that's a very important thing. But never say never. Never say never.
Never say never. We're not for sale. Never say never.
I had a few other weird ones. There's something. Let me find from my bookmarks.
Yeah. But
This
I
one
will
is-
I will say this. He is definitely doing a much better job of playing Trump than some of the other politicians in Canada have done. It's not difficult. You show up, you give him some respect, you kiss the ring, you say, "Yes, Mr. President," and you wear a suit.
Right. He did the minimum at least, you know?
and then you're gonna but your leadership and everything, and thank you for all that stuff, and you can take some contrary points to him here and there, as long as you're showing him some respect. You're showing him that, yeah, there's some things that we can get along on. It's not that difficult, and he at least does that.
Totally. So, let me see for a second. This is another video. It's here. I shared it, I think.
Please.
There you go.
The top concession you want out of Canada. The top concession you want out of Canada.
Concession?
Yes,
Friendship.
but that's not a concession.
No, we're going to be friends with Canada. Regardless of anything, we're going to be friends with Canada. Canada is a very special place to me. I know so many people that live in Canada. My parents had relatives that lived in Canada, my mother in particular. And no, I love Canada. I have a lot of respect for the Canadians. Wayne Gretzky, I mean, how good, the great one. You happen to have a very, very good hockey player right here on the Capitals, who I have a lot of respect. He is a big, tough cookie, too. Just broke the record. And he's a great guy. And, we had the team here. I got to know a lot of the players. But now Canada is a very special place. Please.
What's the top concession you want out of Canada?
That was also weird. Like, I don't even know what he's talking about.
Yeah, we just want friendship, just friendship. What?
Like, what is he even talking about? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I
oh,
think I think what he might be trying to say is we want like a fair partnership where, if we're gonna have, goods going back and forth, we're gonna have normal trade agreements, and you're not gonna be discouraging, purchases of things coming in from the US and so on. But yeah, I don't know. It's weird. It was a very weird, for everything that I saw, it was a very awkward meeting. It felt very awkward.
by the way, One Dirty Bird gave a $2 Rumble rant, and he says, I'm watching an hour behind, but wanted to say, hey, first of all, we only started 23 minutes ago, so you don't even have a lot to catch up. And really, that was a conversation about Sinead O'Connor and I don't know what, like bands that like David Lee Roth. I don't know what we were even talking about, so you didn't miss much, dude. In any case, I think there was another video, so let me see.
But now he won't hear that for 23 minutes.
Right. So let's try to share this thing.
First state. Second,
Well, we don't do much business with Canada from our standpoint.
respectfully, Canadians' view on this is not going to change on the 51st state. Secondly, we are the largest client of the United States in the totality of all the goods. So we are the largest client of the United States. We have a tremendous auto sector between the two of us, and the changes they've made have been helpful. 50% of a car that comes from Canada is American. That's not like anywhere else in the world. And to your question about, is there one thing? No, this is a bigger discussion. There are much bigger forces involved. And this will take some time and some discussions. And that's why we're here, to have those discussions. And that is represented by who's sitting around.
Well, there was the part that he's like, "Oh, we don't even need Canada. Like, they're not even a big client."
Yeah,
like,
we don't even trade very much with them. Well, we kind of do.
It's a very kind of strange, like dick swinging type of press conference there.
It is.
But at the end of the day, and this I like your opinion here, Professor. What do you make of all of this? Do you think that the U.S. and Canada are just going to work out some kind of deal and it's going to be okay, or do you think this is going to continue to be some strange thing? Do you
I,
and you think this guy is handling it
yeah,
better than Trudeau?
I think he's handling Trump better than Trudeau. I think we'll have to wait and see exactly what the new government there decides to do. Obviously, the same party retained a lot of the same seats and retained control of the government there. So, uh, policy wise, I think not a lot is going to change, but hopefully we've got some people in Canada now that recognize that Trump isn't just going to go away next week. They're going to have to find a way to uh, to come to some kind of agreement, to make some concessions, to meet in the middle. They're not just going to be able to, stick their fingers up, and flip off Trump and say screw you. They do far too much trade with us, as I mentioned. Like they can't afford that. Canada can't afford that. They've got to come to some sort of agreement, and so hopefully, maybe now we have uh maybe there's some grown-ups over there. There's still the Liberal Party in Canada. We did not get a conservative takeover there, but uh, maybe now that Trudeau's out, we'll be able to work something out. Like I said, maybe there's some adults in the room now, but I don't know. I don't think this is going to go on forever. I think a lot of this tariff stuff and the different trade agreements and stuff, a lot of this is going to be done by summer. In fact, I'm pretty certain that we're going to hear some pretty major announcements here in just the next couple of weeks.
Speaking of major announcements, I don't know if you know, he said Trump was like, I'm going to the Middle East and there's going to be a huge announcement or something like that. Did you hear something like that? That he's like, he said he was going to the Middle East, but once he gets there, there's a huge announcement.
It's going to be huge.
It's going to be huge. It's the best announcement
Best
ever.
announcement ever. Yeah, I have no idea. I haven't heard any of that.
Wait, let me see if I can find this Middle East. Let's see if I can find this thing.
Let's see. Bigot on socialist media on Rumble says, what happened to talk of the USA taking over Canada and Greenland and becoming some kind of North American Union? Yeah, I don't know about that. I would say that the stuff with Greenland is far more likely than anything with taking over Canada. I think the idea of Canada becoming the 51st state has always been extremely far fetched. The stuff with Greenland potentially becoming a protectorate of the U.S. I don't know. I think that's entirely possible, but I think it's something that's going to happen over some very lengthy negotiations. And no, Trump is not going to send the military in and take over Greenland. That's the dumbest thing, and no one is going to do that. It's silly. The
There's
whole
this
thing,
thing.
the whole thing with making Canada the 51st state was literally just Trump making the
Trolling.
joke. It was
Yeah.
trolling. It was more trolling. Although I do like the idea of taking over Alberta and where Florida is America's wang, Alberta would be America's middle finger. I do like that idea.
I think though that Trump probably shouldn't have said that joke. Part of the reason we may have this Carney guy and not somebody else is because when he said that, they really, I think, used that to sort of twist the arms of a lot of Canadians that like they're somehow under threat.
Yes, they
And
did.
then they voted for this guy, which they probably shouldn't have. Just my 2 cents. I don't know. Maybe there's other things that went into that. Maybe there's just a lot of people in Canada that are, kind of they're very ultra left, and that's why they voted for him. I don't really know. But this is the part where he said something about the Middle East.
We'll have maybe before we're going to, as you know, the Middle East and Saudi Arabia. We're going to UAE and Qatar, and that'll be I guess Monday night. Some of you are coming with us. I think before then we're going to have a very, very big announcement to make, like as big as it gets. And I won't tell you on what, but it's going to, and it's very positive. I tell you if it was negative or positive. I can't keep that up. It is really, really positive. And that announcement will be made either Thursday or Friday or Monday before we leave. But it'll be one of the most important announcements that have been made in many years about a certain subject, very important subject. We'll,
He's like teasing. Trump is the only guy that does like a teaser before the.
We're gonna make an announcement. It's gonna be huge.
It's gonna be huge.
It's gonna be the best announcement we've ever made
in the history of announcement. There's never been
announcements.
Never been such an announcement. There was also something that I don't know. I was really kind of puzzled today because there's things going on with Yemen, but at the same time, on one hand, Trump was saying that he's making a deal with them. Did you see anything about this? I'm.
Yeah, with the Houthis. Yes, I did see something about.
He said something about like a ceasefire, but meanwhile, like it just seems like I don't know exactly what's going on there.
Yeah, I had seen something about that. It was during one of those news conferences today that he was talking about it. Let's see. Here, I can share this.
Because Yemen, there was this whole situation. You know, they sent some missile to Israel, and then Israel sent back some missiles.
We had some very good news last night. The Houthis have announced that they are not, or they've announced to us at least, that they don't want to fight anymore. They just don't want to fight. And we will honor that. And we will stop the bombings. And they have capitulated. But more importantly, we will take their word. They say they will not be blowing up ships anymore. And that's what the purpose of what we were doing. So that's just news. We just found out about that. So I think that's very, very positive. They were knocking out a lot of ships going, as you know, sailing beautifully down the various seas. It wasn't just the canal. It was a lot of other places. And I will accept their word. And we are going to stop the bombing of the Houthis. Effective immediately, and Marco, you'll let everybody know that.
Yep. So apparently they've said that they're not going to be doing any of their terrorist activities anymore. I suppose we'll have to wait and see.
But do you think that, you know, this involves also Israel, you know, not like when he says, Marco, let everybody know, is he referring to that? Or because a lot of times they do things that are sort of coordinated.
Sure.
The U.S. probably in some cases, like I think that if, you know, they know that Israel wants to do something and they don't like it, Israel in many cases won't do it. So I wonder to myself if all of this is all connected, because basically they got all these bombs dropped on them and then suddenly they didn't want to fight anymore. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yes. Yeah. There's some pretty dramatic footage that we got of bombs being dropped on people.
Right. So Istaphobos. Meanwhile, India and Pakistan are at war, and the libs have no idea what flags to put in their bio. They are waiting on instructions.
This is very true.
It is very true. It is very true.
They're not sure which side they're supposed to be. They're supposed to be rooting for.
They've never been cool with each other. But all I know is, I'm going to say something that's really, really like probably kind of ignorant and stupid, and all I can do is tell you that I've said this in the past, even on this stream, that I spent some time in India. Like, you know, back in the day, I think it was a few months I spent in India. I don't know exactly how many weeks, but it was somewhere between 1 to 2 months. In any case, I spent a bit of time there because I was traveling, and I really liked the place and the people. So I always have this kind of more positive vibe towards people in India. Now, you may say that's not fair. You didn't go to Pakistan. Maybe you would have loved it there and you would have loved all the people there. and that is possible. But I was never there, so I don't know. And all I can say was I went to India, and everybody was super nice to me, and I like the people there. So make of that what you will. I'm not putting a flag in my bio. You know what I mean? Like,
Nope.
these are conflicts that have been going on for I don't know how many years. It's hard for me without more information to really understand exactly who is battling who and for what right now. I would have to like do more research. Even then, I'm always hesitant about jumping in and like saying, "Oh, like I love these guys, I love these guys," because really, when there's a military conflict, how much do I love anybody? You know,
Yeah.
if you know
Yeah.
what I mean. No,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying. Like, obviously, if it's something like the U.S., I'm going to support the U.S., but you understand what I'm trying to say.
Yes. Well,
Uh,
there's a lot there between those two countries. There's been animosity between them for
for
a
years,
century, really,
right, for a
and
long time. They're
uh,
always fighting about Kashmir and stuff.
yes, a lot of it goes back to conflicts between, you know, well, uh, mo- religious things. I don't even want to get into it, but yeah, it goes back to religious hatred and stuff, as
It
a lot
always
of the
boils down to that,
back up.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
The dead man says, "That's ignorant. You're ignorant," which is actually Michael Jackson. I think that's what his character sounded like on South Park. I believe that's what the reference is. That the
What he
dead
said?
man was
What?
What's the problem?
right. I don't know if you ever saw that that episode
Yes,
with Michael
I did.
Jackson.
You're ignorant.
You're ignorant.
You're
You're
just
just
ignorant.
ignorant. uh, I do love that episode. It is a good episode. It's a classic. So, yeah, basically, like I said, I think India is such a nice place. I've talked about it before here that in some, actually, I was in places that you're very kind of rural that I had to like climb a mountain. I was on a mountain with there was like 20 people there and very kind of primitive facilities and surroundings and all that. But that was probably some of the best like moments of my life maybe was hanging out there because there was just such a peaceful kind of cool vibe and I still think about it very fondly. So I don't know if anybody listened to the Night Owl in India, but if they did, I had a good time in India
Yeah, I've
and
known a
in
number of
Laos
people.
and
I've
in
known a number
Laos.
of people from India. So yeah, it's
And in Laos, where last time I told you I was
yeah.
the king of
You were the
Vientiane.
king. Everybody loved your
Right.
your terrible jokes and awful accents.
They did love it. They really did. I'm like Sally Field. They love you. Love me. You really do love me. Like
You
that's what
really
happened to me
love me.
in Laos. Anyhow, I don't know how we got here. Uh, I assume that there was a reason why
Oh,
we get.
we were talking. We talked a bit about India and Pakistan after we were moved on from talking about everything that's been happening between the U.S. and Canada. So, yeah, and then also talking about the Houthis.
Yeah, but I'm just wonder if the bombing that came from like the Israel side had anything to do with this decision making, and when he was saying I'll let everybody know if that all had something to do with each other because he was being very vague about it, so I don't even know what he was referring to. But I also I mean I'm not saying it's not true, but I really just don't know. If they stop doing stuff, I think that would be good for everybody. They stop doing like the bad stuff, the Houthis or whatever.
Yeah,
Um,
it's the Phobos.
Istofobo says, I had to learn to be right-handed in India. Price knows what I'm saying. I do know what I'm saying, what you're saying, but I personally, no matter what, I had, I wasn't one of the right-handed people. I don't know if anybody understands what. Did you know why you said that, Professor?
Well, the left hand is used for certain activities that you don't want to be sharing it around.
Right, exactly. So,
It's you wipe your ass with it.
right. But I personally, as much as I wanted to blend into the local culture, I just want to say that I, at
Yeah.
all times, did not participate in that type of activity. I drew the
Traditionally, that's
line.
y
There's,
y most of India, especially the rural parts of India, do not have toilet paper. So, you got to use one or the other, and so it's
I
usually
I
it's
was
the left
able.
hand. Yeah,
I had like a backpack with almost nothing,
yeah,
but it did have toilet paper. Let me just say that.
yep, yep.
But I prefer not to think about that. I try to
Yes,
think of the good things of India and
yes,
not think of the left hand, right hand thing
yes. As
because
as I said, I've known a number of people from India. In grad school, I knew several students who were immigrants from India, and we sat and talked forever. They told us all about their culture. I got invited to the guy's wedding. There's no way I could do it. I mean, was married, had kids, but he was like, I'm getting married. It was an arranged marriage too in India. Like I said, I'm going home. I'm going to get married. You're welcome to come. And I was, you know, we'll put you up. We'll pay for where you're gonna stay. You'll be part of the wedding party and all this. And I was like, there's just no way I could do it. I was really flattered, and I thought, man, this would be a fun adventure. But there was just absolutely no way I could do it.
uh, uh, what is D Bud Martin saying? Did they love you long time in Laos? No, I they didn't. The dead man said Price had a lady man. I'm not 100% sure what you're talking about. I will say this. That in Thailand, uh, I was surprised at the amount of strange things I saw in Thailand. Like one night I was, at a bar or something with some friends, and I was having a drink, and some lady started talking to me, and really at first glance I thought it was like a lady, but the more I looked, I kind of felt that it wasn't. Like I started suspecting, and
Mhm.
I don't know. You really have to be careful there. It's like I don't know how to explain it. You know how here in the U.S. you had like a general that like looked like he was a man that had like makeup on. You know what I'm trying to say?
Sure.
I'm saying that like in Asia, I don't know if it's in all places, but at least in Thailand, there were cases that like you do have to like actually look closer and like examine,
Yeah.
and they can fool you more than the guy like with the that wore the makeup. Do you get what I'm trying to say?
Yes. Yeah. You start to notice the jaw and the hips.
It was mainly really I was if a woman was talking to me like I can't believe I should never even talk about this. I'm gonna regret ever mentioning this. The dead man did this, but I would kind of look to see if there's an Adam's apple. That's
Yeah.
probably the best way, to know. And yeah, I mean there were certainly cases of this. So it's strange. I don't know. It was the thing that was interesting is as opposed to here where like you have like let's say like a one of the transformer people that are like oh like and they all talk about it like Dylan Mulvaney or all those whatever and they're kind of
Ugh.
they look like either like it's a man that's wearing makeup or like has a beard and whatever. In the case like there in Thailand, at least they're there, they didn't present themselves as anything but like if they were claiming they were women, they made a real effort to try to look like that. You know what I'm saying? Like they weren't
Yeah. To pass.
you could pick up on it, but I'm just saying that it wasn't as simple as the general guy with the dress.
Sure.
I don't know how I got to talking about this. The dead man, you said this and you made me talk about this. And
The dead man says, Nelson Mandela, Leslie Headland, and Price walk into a bar.
did you not see the Adams? I did see it, but I didn't see it from far away. And I'm saying like the it, the people that do this in Thailand, they make bigger effort than the ones that I think are here in the U.S. Have no idea if there's a nicer way to explain this or not nice. I don't even know if it's nice what I'm saying. I'm
Yeah.
just saying like
that's because a lot of what we have here in the US are not what would be considered a traditional a person who is trans, who's genuinely trying to pass as the opposite sex and live life as the opposite sex. Instead, they would be better defined as being queer, as in they want to be strange and be noticed for being
Right,
different.
right.
They're not shooting for trying to pass as the opposite sex. They're doing it in a lot of cases for attention. So yeah, they want to be noticed as being awkward and different.
Only Transformer I love is the one who bought Miss Universe, Girl Living Her Dream, respect. I don't know what to say about all of that. uh, never get drunk in a bar in Thailand. You'll have a big surprise when you wake up. Yes, and also I suggest that you go with like friends and stuff. Like I felt good going with like some people that I trusted to whatever establishments and stuff, like like bars and stuff, because I don't know, there were some weird people. I'm not saying that all people in Thailand were weird, but when you go to some of this nightlife stuff, there are some strange people there.
They have a very permissive culture over there. Like kind of anything goes, which is a little wild when you think about it.
It is very, very strange, but everything is like an interesting experience. But I
Yeah,
I didn't feel myself like connecting in general because of all this kind of suspicious activity. Thailand was a place that I didn't really feel, a connection to the local ladies, if you understand what I mean.
sure. Sure. Yeah.
I was more interested if there were, let's say, like travelers like me, maybe women that came from Europe or something.
Mhm.
Do you
Yep.
get what I'm trying to say?
Yes. Yeah.
I didn't have full faith in the system there.
Yeah, yeah, and Boosh McFadden in the YouTube chat says it's pretty much white people trying to be a minority special status. Yes, that's actually a big part of it. You have a lot of white people, both young men and young women, who've essentially been told that they are the scum of the earth, that because they're white, they're irredeemable, and that they have the lowest possible status in society, and so they want a way to regain that status so they can become victims because they want to compete in the victimhood Olympics. And yeah, so they get their special status by you know ch- changing who they are and then saying, well, you're being awful against me, whatever. Yeah, it's
By the way, Bigot on socialist media says, think Philippines has the most out of any country. Thailand maybe number two. That makes sense. I've never been to the Philippines. Anybody that I've met from the Philippines, I've actually met some very nice people from there. Never
Mhm.
been there. Uh, I don't have anything against Thai people either. I'm not saying that they're
Oh
nice or not
no.
nice. I'm just saying that I also, I was also kind of in an area where there's like travelers and you go to this kind of nightlife there. And what seeing some of that, some of the things that I saw, especially in like, in the city of Bangkok, like I thought there were some things that were kind of sketchy there. Uh, I
Mhm.
did think that once I got to the islands, like Koh Phangan and things like that, I did feel like there, first of all, there were a lot more travelers, including also women, and they were from like different places, a lot of women from like Europe or things like that. That felt a little more. I don't know. I like that party scene a bit more, but that's just me. I can't tell other people what to do, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with like if you like the whole Thai scene in Bangkok or whatever goes on there. That's cool too. I told you between the strange people that were there, including also like some odd women, and the fact that people were eating rats on a stick in the middle of the street. Bangkok was a strange place for me, and it was very, very stinky. Like I've told you this before, probably. You think stinky, and you're like, oh, it's probably he's imagining it. It's a little stinky. I'm saying like you're really breathing like a type of stench. I think that the rats on the stick may contribute to that smell, but I don't know.
Yeah, or maybe the rats that haven't made it onto a stick just yet. That might also be part of the problem.
Maybe. Traveler sounds like a code name for something else. I have no idea what you're talking about. I don't know even what that means. What does he mean, Professor? What is a code name for?
I'm not sure what Caleb means.
I don't know either. Uh, H Life, hey, just got on. What are we talking about? We were initially talking about Trump. Trump's meeting with the new Prime Minister of Canada, and somehow we got to talking about the time I was in Thailand and that there were fishy things going on in their nightlife scene, which I still think is odd until this very day. Whew.
Yeah.
Bush McFadden says there's a lot of feces floating in the air. That's probably true. And but you know what the good thing is that they sold PlayStation for very cheap there.
Oh, well, yeah. That's
I don't know if they still do, but at that time, I think that the first maybe it was the second play. I don't know. One of the early models of PlayStation I got in Thailand, and I'm not saying that I went to get it modded by somebody. I'm not saying that I had my PlayStation modded, but it's possible. You know what they used to do back in those days? Do you know of the mods that you used to have for PlayStations?
Oh yeah, sure. The PS1 that I have in my closet is modded. So
It's modded probably, I assume, to play games that perhaps you may not have purchased.
well, no. In fact, I modded it so that actually so I could play a Japanese title that a
Ah,
friend purchased for me while he was on vacation. He brought back a Dragon Ball Z game that was only available in Japan. And so I modded it to play Japanese titles. But of course, interestingly enough, it also meant that you could play copies of games that you didn't own. Yeah.
I see. I basically, I think that it had a double feature, the mod that
Yeah.
I may or may not have had, that you could, on one hand, play games from other countries and perhaps games that were burned on a CD, which of
Yes.
course you owned. You wouldn't burn a CD that you
No,
didn't
no,
own.
it's those are their backup copies.
Backup
Yeah, you
copies,
make backup
exactly.
copies just in case.
I
Yeah.
had so many backup copies because I
Yeah.
just wanted to make sure
Mhm.
that there's a backup to the game.
Yep.
It's very important to back up your games, obviously.
Yeah,
Kelly Hans,
I own every last arcade machine, for all the ROMs, that I've ever played on my
of course. Any ROM I have, I
device.
own,
I own every one of those arcade
every
machines.
single one. Kelly Han says, or the club is fun in Thailand. And again, like I said, I have friends that went to Thailand that had, in Bangkok, a funner time than me. I think that I just wasn't enthusiastic about what was going on there. It's fine. Some people may go there and find it fun. It's also been some time. So maybe now you go there and it's a lot better than it was. I'm talking about this is, a few decades ago. And it, it wasn't my cup of tea, personally.
Mhm.
Istophobo says you missed a Rumble rant. We did. Maybe it didn't appear. Let me see for a second. What did we miss? Okay, let me look for a second. You had even if you don't wipe your ass, you get looks of horror and astonishment if they see you eating with your left hand. I almost gave an old lady a stroke.
Yes.
Well, that is good to know. And this one we saw.
Yep.
Meanwhile, India and Pakistan, that we know. This we saw, that was One Dirty Bird.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I think you covered them all there.
I think we covered them all. So I apologize to Phobos if I didn't see it the first time. By the way, if you ever give like a Rumble rant or a super chat and I don't see it, sometimes because we're looking at a few platforms at the same time, something may just kind of fall between the cracks and we're not doing it on purpose. I like what Istophobos did here. Obviously, send another DM and say, hey, I sent a thing. I'll definitely go back and look at it. It's not like I'm purposely not doing it, if you know what I mean. Oh, there's another Dead Man super chat. Speaking of being on top of my game, so by the way, Price, I noticed in rewatches that you don't need my help to derail things. What?
This is probably true. Yes.
It's probably true. It's not you that's causing me to derail anything. This is just the nature of this show and how we just, have our late night conversations. So appreciate the $5 super chat and the previous one. And you are 100%. I like that you ask stuff. By all means, you can ask us whatever you want, and I'm always happy if somebody sends
Yeah,
a super
I
chat.
I don't think you can. I don't think you can derail this show, Price.
You
I don't
can't
think it's
derail the night
possible.
owl.
We go where the conversation takes us.
Obviously, yes. And so where were we? I think we wrapped up that whole Trump thing, right?
Yeah, yeah.
We
So,
kind of wrapped that up, and then what was the next topic that we were supposed to go over?
well, we touched on Thunderbolts for just a bit, but yeah, I think we're going to come back to that and talk about kind of Disney's, how Thunderbolts was performing and Disney kind of going with this whole now changing their marketing to show new Avengers instead of Thunderbolts.
And I've given a lot of thought to this, and this is stuff that I haven't said in other shows or anything, any streams even that you and I have been together, because I keep thinking about it a bit more, and I think that if the movie Thunderbolts would have come out between Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame, it would have been like $1 billion movie. You know what I mean? Good, bad, whatever it is, you would have seen the characters. People would have thought, oh, it's like a new Guardians of the Galaxy. It would have had a lot of goodwill. There were some movies there that were better than others. Ant-Man and the Wasp 2 was not a very particularly good movie, but it still did decently because
Yeah.
it was leading up to I think Endgame. You had Captain Marvel, which was a terrible movie. I still think there's something suspicious about those ticket sales, although I have no way to prove it. But it made like seemingly $1 billion. A lot of things were like going really well. Sometimes when you're riding that wave like the MCU was riding, sometimes it's just anything you just like dump out suddenly does well. And I honestly think that the between how they built that whole thing with the first Avengers movie, the second, and the different characters and the movies and the interconnection, the way they built up that whole Infinity Saga, it just generated a lot of excitement from people.
Oh, did.
And every time there was a Marvel movie, it became like an event. And unfortunately, Thunderbolts doesn't have that kind of like franchise good fan goodwill going on here at all.
No,
So
not
it's
anymore.
not. Sorry.
Not anymore.
No, not anymore. And the thing is that the only way this movie would have been like, just kind of passable, like one of those Ant-Man and the Wasp 2, if it was released around the time that Ant-Man and the Wasp 2 was released. This movie isn't strong enough to really signal a real change here. It's just that, like, compared to some other shitty movies, this one was kind of mediocre. And if you were just looking for a mindless popcorn movie, it was somewhat passable. But it's not like that's not what this franchise needed as like a shot in the arm. It needed something that would be like the new Guardians of the Galaxy for real. Like you're watching it and you're blown away by how good it is. The people walk out of the theater and start calling their friends and saying, this just blew me away, this movie. And honestly, this movie ain't it, you know? It's not that kind of movie.
Not at all.
And
No.
and that's why when you look at the box office receipts here, if you take into consideration that the movie cost, they claim 180 million, some people claim 200 million. Let's just say it cost 180 million to produce and another 100 million to market. That would mean that it's 280 million. That means that they need 2.5. So that you already are looking at like 560. 500. Oh, what's wrong with me, Professor? Help me out here.
You say 280, and then you're saying the 2.5 number.
Let's first start, like, what's the times 2? That would be 560 first of all,
Yeah, it'd
right?
be 560,
But
and
then you need
if you
more.
were to move that to 2.5,
Two
then
and
it
a
would be
half, then
700.
right, so exactly. You need 700 and something thousand, and I just don't see this movie
Mm-mm.
making this kind of money.
No, not at all. No.
And
The,
earlier on, you were mentioning that article in the Wall Street Journal, and I think I found it, and I actually read it after we talked about it earlier, and I found it a very interesting article. So let me try to find it because this was
yeah,
a very, very interesting article.
yeah. So,
It
yeah, I
was
think
more
no, go ahead.
it was more interesting than I thought it would be.
Yeah. So, yeah, we've got, we've got the Thunderbolts here. Like you said, I think if this were in a different place, if it were not at this point in the MCU where I think it's in full on collapse at this point. We as a movie going, public, just don't care about the MCU anymore. There's just been too many disasters. People are just they don't care about part of the reason that some of these movies, even though they weren't great, still got a lot of people into the theater was because it was this universe. You felt like to participate in it, you had to be there for each of the films. The next film coming was the one you needed to see that so that you knew what was happening in the next movie, and they all connected, kind of built out this universe together. That is gone. That completely fell apart in this last phase. Even in phase 4 was already starting to just fall apart, but in this last phase, it's collapsed. Nobody cares anymore. The movies, their connections to each other are just tentative at best. They're barely even a connection anymore. And then they threw in all of these garbage TV shows that now, oh, they're part of the continuity too. And you got to watch this and that and whatever. And Thunderbolts is one of those that, yeah, how are you supposed to keep up with this movie if you haven't watched the awful Marvel TV shows that came before, specifically, Captain Falcon and the Winter Soldier, whatever. That show was dreadful. That introduced John Walker. We had the movie before with Black Widow, where that was where Yelena was introduced. We get to see Yelena again as part of Hawkeye, and then also as part of was she in was she in the end of Winter Soldier? I can't remember. But yeah, we've there's all these crummy TV shows. Nobody cares anymore. No one wants to watch all this stuff, as some people have said. I've heard critics saying this, and in fact, I think it's actually mentioned in this article. Bryce, is that watching Marvel movies now feels like homework.
It does, but I will say this: I actually went to see Thunderbolts with somebody who actually is not into Marvel and stuff like that. That happened to watch it, and they even though they didn't really have a lot of knowledge, maybe they've seen like Iron Man and the Avengers, but they didn't see like a million Marvel movies. You know what I mean? Without knowing a lot about anything, they were able to follow what was going on there. So I think that the Thunderbolts did the bare minimum. They didn't really dwell on each character, what they did in every movie. Is it nice to know some backstory? Sure, but even if you didn't know anything and you just watched the movie, I think there was a sort of decision to not make it as reliant on these other previous TV shows more than other stuff. This wasn't like Multiverse of Madness, where if you didn't see that stupid WandaVision show, you don't know what the fuck you're looking at. Sorry, Sean.
Yeah, yeah. Like, why is she suddenly evil? Like, it
Why is
doesn't
she
make sense.
evil? What's she doing here? What's she want? That was such a stupid movie.
Yeah,
What a disgrace.
yeah,
That stinky, crappy Doctor Strange 2 movie. It was such an embarrassment. And
yeah.
what they did to Sam Raimi was actually a decent director, wanted to make his vision, and they completely took a dump on his movie and sent him on his way. I want to know what movie he wanted to make. He was
Yeah,
trying to make
I
a
wanna
movie.
see his version. I wanna see his version of that movie. I want to see a Sam Raimi superhero pick. We got his movies with Spider-Man, and they're still beloved today.
Still beloved. And even though I admit that the third one, because of interference from
Yeah.
Sony, had its issues, I still would take that movie over a lot of these shitty Marvel movies. You know what I mean? I still I still didn't hate the movie, even though when I compare it to 1 and 2, it's obviously a letdown, but it's not unwatchable for me. And I think that Raimi has so much to offer, and bringing him back and letting him do Doctor Strange 2, it seemed to be up his alley. Let him like the, the slang of today, let him cook. You know what I mean? They should let
Mhm.
him do whatever he does. He's Sam Raimi. Why couldn't you let him do his movie? You know why? Because Kevin Feige had to shove in that stupid WandaVision thing so that people will watch a stupid show and then watch this stupid movie. And the only reason this movie, Multiverse of Madness, even made money was because it was a bait and switch, because everybody saw Spider-Man No Way Home and Doctor Strange was in it. And then, seemingly, the next movie is Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, just skating on the goodwill of, okay, what's he going to do now? You know what
Yeah,
I mean? That you're sort
yeah,
of watching the next movie after a movie that you enjoyed. Everybody was thinking, okay, Marvel's like, maybe Marvel's back. Let's see
yeah.
what they're doing here.
Well, and the first Doctor Strange, a lot of people were big fans of the first Doctor
It was a
Strange.
good movie.
It
It was a
wasn't
good
my
mo
it wasn't my favorite, but I did enjoy the film. It was a well-made movie, and it was interesting. It wasn't my favorite of the Marvel films at the time, but compared to anything we're getting now, it was a masterpiece. So,
Absolutely. It was, it was the second one was really disappointing.
yeah,
But, back to this thing. This article, you know what it kind of reminds me?
what's
It
up?
it feels like Kevin Feige, I think I have said this somewhere today, is slowly turning into, or maybe I didn't, Kathleen Kennedy. This is an article where basically it says, like, we couldn't reach Kevin Feige for any comment. He refused to comment for this article. Meanwhile, this article, like, it seemed like it was written by Kevin Feige himself. You know what I mean? It's a strange situation that on one hand it seems like everything he would want to shove into an article, and on the other hand they're like he refused to comment from the article, which almost makes me think this is one of those things where his PR people, start calling and people close to him, quote unquote, and close to the sources and blah. Do you get what I'm trying to say?
Obviously, yeah.
There's
Yeah.
something fishy about this article. So there's a few things that I wanted to go over that were actually of interest. Uh, the deluge of material from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, or MCU, or Disney Plus overwhelmed and eventually alienated viewers. It also stretched Kevin Feige's and his team's resources, diluting the quality of their output. Marvel's box office sales, streaming popularity, and formerly untouchable in position in pop culture suffered. Now, here's the part that's really interesting. This almost seems, and I know this sounds strange, this almost seems like a PR effort to throw Bob Iger under the bus. And I'll show you what I mean. Because there's a part here that basically explains, it almost suggests that Feige, who was wonderful. Like they call him Papa Feige. Did you see that?
Yes.
They call him, once I see Papa Feige in the article, and they're like, he refused to respond to our inquiries. He's Papa Feige. I don't believe you. This feels like this was orchestrated by his PR people, because Papa Feige gives me PR people vibes. And they're explaining how great he is, how he's the best that ever lived, the best that ever was. And then here's the part that I think is interesting. Soon after Endgame, creative staffers began meetings in their office on the DC studio lot to figure out where the MCU could possibly go next. In the nearby executive building, Disney's senior leadership had another priority. Chief executive Bob Iger was launching Disney Plus as an answer to Netflix. He needed loads of new series for it and was counting on Marvel to provide many of them. The strategy became just expansion, 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 said a person who worked at Marvel at the time. Again, no names. This is really, really important. Feige recently told colleagues he agreed to the plan because of his zealousness to tell more stories and a desire to be an excellent corporate citizen. It turned out to be a mistake. Now, let me explain to you what this means. Basically, Bob Iger, he wanted expansion, expansion, expansion. Okay? He wanted a bunch of stuff. He wanted to launch Disney Plus. He wanted a bunch of MCU things. And Kevin Feige, on one hand, he is zealous when it comes to telling stories, but more importantly, he wanted to be a company man. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yep.
It's not his policy to expand. It's Iger's policy to expand. He wants to be a corporate guy, the corporate man. He wants to toe the company line. They said they wanted more. He wants to do more. He doesn't mention that he got a raise and a promotion and bought a house for $59 million. He doesn't mention all the hundreds of millions of dollars he's making. He doesn't mention all that woke stuff, all the activists in Disney, all the stupid propaganda and agendas and ideologies that were all shoved in there, all this crazy crap that nobody wanted, and how they also made it all woke and shitty and destroyed this whole franchise. No mention. The only reason there was an issue here is because he was overextending himself, because he didn't want to disappoint Bob Iger, who demanded it, and basically was stretching him too thin. And all Kevin Feige ever wanted to be was a company man. Doesn't that just seem stupid? And of course, he refuses to respond to this article. But between you and me, man, what kind of article is this?
It's ridiculous. There's some other stuff a little bit later down. It talks about how they started introducing, they moved from producing a few, maybe a dozen hours of film, every year, or 8 hours of films every year, to moving to dozens and dozens of hours of television, and it completely broke the process, and now they weren't able to make good films anymore. And it's like, I'm sorry, but no, it wasn't that you pivoted to television that ruined your films. What ruined your films is trying to take all of them and turn them all into women's properties instead of men's properties. You tried to take all of this ideology stuff and cram it into every corner of the MCU that you could. You ended up disappearing all of the stars that made the first 3 phases of the MCU huge, and tried to replace them with terrible DEI hires, as mantles. We'll pass on the mantle of this to whoever, and none of it worked. None of it.
Absolutely. And if you see also, it says here in this article, Marvel fatigue. That reminds you of the stupid Star Wars fatigue. Marvel fatigue. Yeah, I mean, people get fatigue when you continue to give them shit movie after movie. Sorry, Sean. It's like just the same crap over and over again, and people get annoyed with that. I love how this article dances around the real issue. And as also somebody said here in the chat, I think it was Reed by Nature who said Feige got Loeb and Perlmutter out of his way and the MCU tank.
Yeah.
Not only that, they, if you remember, there was an issue with Gunn. They fired him, who apparently was contributing more than people were saying. He had some good ideas. Joss Whedon was Me Too'd, so they pushed him away. The Russo brothers, I almost feel like maybe the Russo brothers benefited from somebody like Gunn's presence or somebody's presence there, because once you leave them to their own devices, they just make flop after flop, unfortunately. And yeah, I mean, now they're like, oh, Marvel fatigue, and they're quoting. I love this kind of picking a fan. Out of like millions of people they could have picked, they choose like 2 people. You know what I'm saying? I loved it for many years, but all the TV shows and everything, it just started getting a little confusing and all over the place, said Leslie Rodriguez, a 23-year-old social media manager. Who is this Leslie Rodriguez?
23-year-old social media manager who was like, what, 6 when the
right,
MCU
exactly.
started?
Who the fuck are you? Sorry, but who the fuck are you? What are you even talking about? Where did they bring this lady from? And then they're like, fans rejected Secret Invasion, blah, blah, blah. They rejected it because it was crappy. I mean, listen, the fact that he, now had to be in charge of 2 movies a year and 2 TV shows, that shouldn't be overwhelming to the extent that he can pull it off. Look at, the days that you had Netflix, okay? When he actually wasn't involved in all those TV shows. Look how they churned out season after season of Daredevil, of The Punisher, of Jessica Jones, of Iron Fist and Luke Cage and The Defenders. And I know some of that stuff worked well and some of that stuff didn't work out so well. But you know what? At least you could see that there was an effort to actually release material from that little mini universe they created. They were very serious about it, and they churned out shows after shows. If you really wanted good quality, you could have called the very people that were making those type of shows for you and said, hey, can you make us some shows that are not a piece of crap? Instead, they didn't want anything to do with those people. They wanted nothing to do with them because they wanted to hire all the people from Rick and Morty and a bunch of weird activists like Jessica Gao and all these miserable assholes that don't even like these comics, don't read them, don't give a shit about them, haven't probably watched the original MCU movies, and you gave them the reins and then they shoved all their propaganda in there, and you're like, oh, there's fatigue. This is so disingenuous to try to pretend now that 7 years of driving this thing creatively into the ground, not just by poor movies or poor whatever writing wise, that too, but because you alienated people with your stupid politics, that in this article, and nobody talking here, nobody's acknowledging it. It's as if it never existed.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, here's other gaslighting. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania was critical to the MCU's future, blah, 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 the Kang Dynasty. But the early 2023 film flopped at the box office and was widely panned.
Yeah, because it
Nobody
was
mentioned.
bad. It was
First of all, it was
a
bad.
bad movie.
Nobody talked about like the propaganda here. And then employees talked regularly about Marvel fatigue. You employees are activists. You shut the fuck up. You are such fucking jerk-offs that you're supposed to do a job. You're getting paid for it. And you're talking about Marvel fatigue? Make it not fatigue. They worried that it created no new fans club in which people unfamiliar with the state of the MCU couldn't watch a new release because they have no idea what's going on. No, the state of the MCU was so crappy that you lost people and nobody gave a shit. Even people that had followed for years, all your things, didn't want to follow it anymore because they knew what you were doing and they didn't want any part of it. And that's how you lost your viewers.
Yeah, you didn't want heroes and villains anymore. You wanted all all these gray area characters, and the bad guys couldn't actually be bad. And then yeah, oh god, there's so much that they did wrong in those post Endgame years. But I mean, it really started with Captain Marvel. But those post Endgame years are so much. Oh, come on! I mean, what? Oh, well, it was Quantumania was a cornerstone of the MCU because it had Kang in it. Okay, that's great. Then why did you write the story where they literally defeat Kang the first time they meet him and he's defeated by one of the worst least powerful superheroes that you have?
But
They should, if they wanted to make the movie good and they wanted to actually like make him seem like a threat, Ant-Man and his team should have escaped by the skin of their teeth. They should have barely gotten out alive and been terrified of what Kang meant for their future. No, they beat him and it's over and they leave, right? It was a terrible play for the rest of everything that they wanted to do with Kang.
Here's the ultimate gaslighting. I don't know why this makes me laugh. They didn't mention that they put Jonathan Kang on a Jonathan Majors as on a pedestal as Kang. They would kiss his ass on the red carpet. They made it seem like he's the best thing since like Laurence Olivier. And then he had the thing with that lady, that weird incident, and he was running around and I don't know what, and they had the trial and they dropped him like a hot potato. And I love how all of that happened. And this is the way that they kind of presented in the article, which makes me think that's why I told you that I think Kevin Feige's PR people did this. It says Marvel's top priority is ensuring the next two Avengers extend the track record for the franchise, which has provided 4 of the company's 5 highest grossing films. Around early 2024, executive decided to dump Kang and started brainstorming who would make a better antagonist for their next superhero team up. No mention of the trial, no mention of anything. They just decided to dump Kang. Do you get what I mean? Like,
yeah, it just wasn't working, so we decided to hire somebody else.
They got up one day and they're like, you know what, this Kang thing ain't working. Let's get rid of him. We all know that if he wasn't, in that legal hot water that he was in, they would have totally made those crappy movies.
Yeah,
they didn't learn anything. They learned no lessons. They did a shitty job. Everything they did was shit. And at the end, they're like, this is such a spin. There's so much spin and gaslighting. This is why I'm telling you. They may tell you that Kevin Feige refused to comment for this article. I'm 90-something% sure that this is a manufactured article by his own PR representative.
Oh, absolutely. There's no leaks here. There's no insiders speaking on a condition of anonymity. This is 100% written by people inside of
Inside,
Marvel.
and then it continues more. Feige had been talking for more than a year to Robert Downey Jr., who played Iron Man and was beloved by fans, about returning to the MCU. They discussed his playing Doctor Doom, one of Marvel's best known comic book villains, but they hadn't determined when or in what film. This is such bullshit. When they hired him, they were desperate. They had to drop like Jonathan Majors because of all the legal stuff. They knew everything they were doing was tanking. Getting Robert Downey Jr. after they killed his character and never wanted to see that guy again because they had to pay him so much money, and turning around and starting to pay him money, this
Mhm.
was an act of desperation.
Yeah, what happened to Ironheart? That was going to be the new Iron Man. We were going to have the Iron Man taken over by a young, brilliant black woman.
What happened to
What
Ironheart?
happened?
I want to see the show Ironheart. See, people aren't excited for Ironheart. I am very, very excited. I want to watch. I've said it before. I am actually looking forward to Ironheart. I want to review Ironheart. I'm going to
Yes,
review every
Bryce is
episode.
going to do a review for every single episode. He's going to be
The
so
only
excited to
trouble
talk
is
about
I know exactly what's gonna happen.
it.
They're gonna dump it all in one
Oh,
day,
absolutely! It's all going to happen one night. It's
all
gonna be
one night, and the thing is that they'll do it at, like, a strategic time that there's, like, 7 other things happening that, like, it'll fall between the cracks. They're gonna, like, in the middle of the night, dump it and run away and never mention it
You're
again.
gonna dump it this Friday night that Lilo and Stitch hits theaters,
Right, exactly.
so that
That's
everyone's
exactly
talking
what they're
about
gonna
Lilo
do.
and Stitch.
It
Nobody is gonna be talking about this
they
awful
did
show.
They did something like that with Echo. Echo, they released at a strategic time. They dumped it all at the same time, and man, I don't know. Um, I'm only speculating. I'll say that a long time ago I did a review for Echo, and I believe, and I don't have any way to prove it, that on certain platforms there was some kind of I want to say suppression going on.
Yep.
Like, I felt that I wasn't the only one. There were other people that were making reviews for it, and it almost seemed like these reviews were just pushed aside. Yes, I know that it wasn't a popular show, but in our circles of the internet, there were at least enough people that wanted to have a good laugh, and I almost feel like the algorithm was sort of tipped to not give them that good laugh, if you know what I'm trying to say.
Uh-huh.
I don't know how to explain it, but it is what it is. Uh, and I think I know how they accomplished that, but I don't want to get into it. I could get into it because of the different, groups, identity politics, and things involved in that show. Maybe they were able to twist somebody's arm. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, they called, like, the higher up somewhere and made them make sure that people don't really see those reviews. If you know what I'm trying to say.
Mm.
Never mind. Feige
Yeah.
also rehired Anthony and Joe Russo, who directed Downey in Avengers Endgame, bringing back the talent from behind a blockbuster. For a sequel is one of the most expensive propositions in Hollywood, but people who've worked with Feige says he likes to get back to people he trusts, particularly in moments of urgency. Basically, he is desperate. He is
Oh, yeah,
desperate
absolutely.
because he has become a fat cat, surrounded by activists and hacks, and he has run that franchise into the ground, and now he thinks he's going to bring all these people, and it's somehow going to be like a magic trick, and it's all going to be great. And I'm not sure that it will be. Maybe those 2 movies will make some money, but it's not going to be able to restabilize the
I
franchise.
I'll be uh, I'd put money on it right now. I don't think either of these films can make money because they're gonna pour way too much into these movies. We're probably talking $300+ million a piece into these 2 films, and there's no way that it's gonna be able to make its money back. After all the marketing and everything, it's just gonna be too much. And, bringing back Robert Downey Jr., I don't know, it seems like a weird move. Again, after they before basically chased him off because he cost them too damn much money, and of course he wanted to move on and do other projects as well. And then we got Doolittle. Oh. But yeah, bringing him back, okay, it seem like desperation. Uh, Bringing back the Russos, I think, is going to be suicidal.
I
They have
mean,
not had a top tier, a well reviewed project since they left the MCU. Everything that they've done has been a disaster.
They made The Citadel for Amazon, which was a
Yep.
disaster. They made The Gray Man for Netflix, which was also a disaster. Keep in mind that both of those things were supposed to be like franchises.
Yeah.
So Amazon, The Citadel, I haven't seen anything. They released
The
that
Electric State
Electric State.
was supposed to be this huge thing for Netflix, and it was here for a weekend and then gone because
Gone.
nobody cared, and it was terrible.
It was. You know that I don't think I ever finished the movie. I think that I watched it, made it maybe like, 2/3 into the movie, fell asleep, and it didn't even interest me enough to go back to finish the movie.
Yeah. I don't think the Russos alone were the magic that made in-game and all those
Well,
films
you had
good.
people writing. I mean, I know that they brought those same people to write the Electric State, so I have really nothing to say because those people were decent writers when it came to the MCU. I don't know why they fumbled that Electric State so badly, but Russo's over time, I have less faith in them. I have less faith in Feige. I don't know. I guess, like you said, I think that there was a team in place during those years. Like people said, Perlmutter was there. You had people like James Gunn in the background. Earlier you had Joss Whedon, maybe a little bit of Favreau. There seemed to be more people kind of giving their 2 cents and brainstorming and really supporting, playing like a serious support team for Kevin Feige, to be the figurehead where all this stuff was going on, where competent people were actually doing competent things. He somehow got rid of them all, became like the big boss, and he just, he, from where I'm looking at it now, I'm far less impressed with Kevin Feige now than I was back in the day.
Yep.
Back in the day, I thought to myself, man, this guy knows his stuff. Like he's
Yep.
a real deal. But now it can't be already for 7 years that he continues to do flop after flop. Like
Yep. Well, we had, for a long time, it was not just Feige. You'll remember Perlmutter was also there, kind of helping to make sure that the Marvel traditions, the history of that was really part of the stories that they were telling. And then they chased him off. And then we also had James Gunn, who was there, and apparently, from what we've understood, contributing in a lot, to a lot of other stuff beyond just the two Guardians films that he made, before we got to Endgame, right? So I think that there was a lot of talent there, and over time, a lot of that talent has just moved on, and it's left behind Kevin Feige with a lot of weight on his shoulders, and he's not able to do it on his own. And of course, on top of that, there's this consistent push to hire specific people because of their race or because of their sex or whatever, rather than hiring the best people for the job. And then we've also seen repeatedly where they do bring in talent, they just run over them and force them to make the whatever crap it is that the studio is demanding that they put out. So it's just been one disaster after another, one failure after another, and I don't see any way that they're going to turn this around. I genuinely think that the MCU is done. They're gonna end this year with three, well, I guess four if you count the Ironheart series, four losses, one sort of success maybe with Daredevil, as far as the shows are concerned, that went over well with some, not with others, uh, but and then middling, but I think a financial failure with Thunderbolts. And then I have absolutely no hope whatsoever that Fantastic Four is going to do well. It might have a big opening weekend, and it's going to fall off huge after that. But honestly, I don't even know that it gets that big opening weekend. I would be surprised if its opening weekend is any bigger than Brave New World.
It's
So,
hard to say. I mean, it's a movie that maybe they'll get some people interested in. maybe it'll have a better opening than Thunderbolts and better than Captain Falcon, but if it's what it seems to be in the trailers, I don't think that that's the movie that's going to win back fans. And let me see if there's anything else that's actually interesting here. Somebody was talking about Extraction. Extraction are movies that Joe Russo, I think one of them wrote the screenplays. They produced it, but they weren't the directors. Those movies, they're very much based on the direction and the action, and like Chris Hemsworth as an action star, which I think he's good at. There's nothing written in those screenplays that's like anybody reinventing any wheels. The screenplays, whatever Joe Russo wrote, I would say are serviceable enough, but that's not the kind of thing you need for an elaborate Avengers movie. For those type of thing, you need something a different type of movie completely, and you're going to need writing that's like much more elaborate. The Extraction movies are very kind of very straightforward, shoot 'em up, whatever. Somebody's kidnapped, he's trying to save somebody, is killing some people. It's not like rocket science. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yep.
It's actually very, very simple movies. I think that the reason why I mildly enjoyed them, or rather enjoyed them, is I think that Chris Hemsworth was really in good shape. I believed all of these kind of fight scenes and things where he's like beating people up. I actually like that. So the kind of action-y vibe to it I liked, but action doesn't always have to be super sophisticated. It just has to be done right. And I feel like those Extraction movies, if nothing else, that's my takeaway from them.
Mm-hmm.
And then Isophobo says with a Rumble rant, you simply cannot tell a good story while adhering to Hollywood's law of modern storytelling, no matter who the writer is. It's also true. Well, this will be a big test for the Russo brothers, that's for sure. And yeah, I mean, I don't think that this is an article that was made in a vacuum. I think Kevin Feige's people, like I said, were involved, but it is what it is. And man, we certainly went through a lot of things here.
Yeah. So
there's another super chat from the dead man, and I want to go over it.
yeah.
Thank you,
Get
dead
back
man.
to that.
It's like flickering, so I can't even like it like I want to. But let me see what I can do. The dead man says best Trek movie versus favorite Trek movie. Example: the motion picture is my best Trek movie, but the Undiscovered Country is my favorite. You know what? For me, the best Trek movie for me is The Wrath of Khan. I like that movie the best, and I also think that it's the best. So it's really hard for me to separate. I do like the motion picture more than a lot of other people. Some people didn't like that one. I rather somewhat liked Search for Spock. I didn't hate that movie, and even the one with the whales.
Yeah.
What's
The Voyage Home.
The Voyage Home, yes, sorry.
Yeah.
That one I actually like, I feel like those first 4 movies for me were like good. Then you had like that 5th one, which was really I think Shatner directed it. There was something wrong with that 5th one. It wasn't.
Yeah, Shatner directed it. It had a really rough script, and also not only was it Shatner's directorial debut there of a Star Trek film, but his budget was constantly getting slashed.
Yeah, I'm not hating. I
So,
like Shatner. I genuinely like
yeah.
him. I have a lot of respect for him. He is my favorite. Like he's the OG captain. Like I can't say enough good things about how much I liked him in Star Trek, and I like him until this day. And I don't have anything like bad to say about Shatner. I genuinely like him. I will say though that 5th movie, for whatever reason, wasn't great.
No,
It's
it's a stinker. Everyone, even those of us that absolutely adore the Star Trek films, which I do. Really, my introduction to Star Trek was the films. But even before I got into TOS or Next Generation, it was the films that I started watching. So I love those movies. Yeah, 5 is just a mess. There's so much wrong with it. There's so many just corny, awful things that they did with the film. Part of that was just a really weak script. Part of it was not great direction from Shatner. Part of it was he was getting sabotaged left and right. He was getting budgets, taken out from under him. He had big ideas, and then they would come in and they couldn't implement any of them because they didn't
I
have the budget to actually make it happen. So yeah, yeah, five is a mess.
It's a
Yeah,
mess. I'll cut him some slack. I'm not saying that he alone was the issue, but somehow, unfortunately, it will always be tied to him as the movie that he directed, and I really think that that is the weakest out of all those movies. I really like Shatner, and I don't have anything against him, but that
yeah,
movie wasn't, I think, wasn't peak Star Trek. The Undiscovered Country, which was the one after that, I thought that that was a return to form,
oh yeah,
and it was an acceptable movie. Some people like that movie more than I like it, but
yeah.
I didn't dislike it either. And at least those kind of movies went out on more of a high note, because I
Yeah.
think that isn't. Then later you had Generations or something. I don't think there's is there anything out? There's nothing after Undiscovered Country from the old cast
Not from
except
the
for
old cast,
Generations.
aside from Generations. Yeah, Generations
Right.
has some of the old cast in it, but yeah, no, that 6 was the last one for the original crew, and then, yeah, you've got a few of them that are in there for Generations, but
Yeah, Generations. That's
that's mostly a Next Generation film,
uh,
and also a dreadful film.
yes.
It's
It's
awful story, terrible characters. They some of the characters in the film are completely different from what they were in the shows or previous movies. It's so weird. It's
it's so
not a good film.
ill-advised, that movie. I don't understand what
Yeah.
they wanted. Like, it's so disappointing. Maybe there was a way of having, like, Jean-Luc Picard and Captain Kirk together doing something that would have been cool. And in the scene that they meet each other, like, initially, there's some moments that it kind of I like the interaction. I liked seeing that. But really, if you just zoom out and look at anything else in that movie, it's such a disappointing movie.
Yeah. So, I would say probably uh, you know, like you said, it's kind of hard to separate these, but if I were gonna answer this, I would say the best Trek versus favorite Trek. I would say of the films, of the stories and the characterization and everything, I think that uh 2, Wrath of Khan, I think is the best. I do really enjoy the motion picture, but you have to admit, even though it is very enjoyable and does feel the most like the original series, it is also very slow, and it's definitely, depending on the cut that you're watching, can be a real slog to get through. I will say, and Istophobos mentioned this in the chat, the 4K remaster that they did in going with because they did a director's cut that went to DVD back in the 2000s, and then because when they did that director's cut, all the effects that they did were in 480p because they were made directly for the DVD. So when we wanted to bring that up into HD or 4K, they essentially had to do all of that over again. And so they took that again and they remastered all of the footage, all 4K, with and cleaned it up really well, and then they redid all of the new graphics and stuff, did all of that in 4K, and it looks amazing. It really is one of the most impressive, like, 4K remasters that have been done in a while, and it is a very good movie. I don't, I can't count it as the best. It's got a lot of stuff to slog through. Personally, the one that I enjoy the most, I love Undiscovered Country. I know that it's not probably the best of the movies, but I do really enjoy, I enjoy the story, the, sort of the Iron Curtain coming down in space kind of thing. All the metaphors and everything that are in there. I love the performances from the characters that we get in that last film. We really get a lot of fantastic Spock. We get lots of McCoy, get lots of Kirk in that last film, and yeah, there's a few corny bits in there, like needing to translate Klingon, so we've got to get out a bunch of paper books to do like that's really silly. There's stuff like that, but I really really do enjoy that last film. Also, the soundtrack for Six, the score that was written for that is fantastic.
I
So yeah, it's a really really enjoyable film. I like all of them. I think have something fun to offer. There's some great character bits that are in five. Overall, it's a terrible movie, but there's some really good character bits that are in there. And you get some fun performances in there from some of the central crew. But yeah, overall, it's pretty rough.
well, I see that Midnight's Edge After Dark. Tom is here, closest to OG series outside the motion picture. Star Trek 5 is good. I don't care. I don't know what to tell you. That's not my favorite out of all of them. But he says TV cut is better. I think he was talking about the motion picture. Interesting.
The TV cut is extended. Yeah, it's longer than
Oh,
the original theatrical, and it's longer than the director's cut as well. So the director's cut takes a scene here, a scene there, that were a little bit expanded, puts that in, and then there's some of the more expanded scenes that they cut down a little bit for the director's cut. Some that didn't just either slowed it down or just didn't quite fit. Yeah.
um, Read by Nature says Undiscovered Country has a lot going for it. The Last Voyage for the OGs, momentous story with the Klingons, and Trek resurgence with TNG. Whalem says I'm an hour late. It's okay.
Hey, Waylon.
And then Dude Bro Seth Cheers says the end of the Roddenberry years. And Tom insists that he likes number 5. It's fine, man. People like whatever they
Yep,
like.
yep.
I'm not offended by it. It at least has the characters that I like. I watched it. I was able to get through it. But for me,
Yeah.
that movie, I agree with Professor.
Well,
That is a
the
mess of a movie.
the end of the Roddenberry years were technically the first film. He had almost nothing to do with the
Right.
rest of the film series. He would come in and give wild, crazy notes about how you can't do this with that character and you can't do that with this, and your story should be about this and whatever, and just basically just trash whatever anyone else did with Star Trek. He hated Star Trek 2. He hated everything that Nick Meyer did with that film, and of course, it ended up being a massive hit. And I'm sorry, to this day, I'm gonna take those monster maroon uniforms, those military uniforms that are introduced in Star Trek 2. I will take that over any other uniform, uh, except for the original TOS uniforms. Those uniforms from Star Trek 2 are the best. I do understand they were incredibly uncomfortable and hot, but they look fantastic. I love those motion picture uniforms.
I like them too. Elizabeth Quinn says Star Trek saved me being raised in a rural area by my grandparents. That's cool. That's good to know.
Yeah.
And then Whalem says I'm an hour late. That's fine. We still appreciate you being here. And one dirty bird says, hey, I'm caught up. Well, good for you, man. I knew you could do it. Jonathan Conroy is saying hi to Tom Connors. And Tom saying Kirk would never say let them die.
Yeah, well, the story behind that, I would imagine, Tom, that the way that he shot it, Shatner said the very same thing to Nick in saying that no, he wouldn't say that. So there, he actually he wouldn't do a take, just saying let them die, and so he did a different take with saying let them die, and then sort of dismissed what he just said as being really irrational and whatever. And so he did that take, and then he saw it, and the director showed it to him. He said that's great, and then when they went in to edit the movie, they did him say let them die, and then they cut it immediately after that and left nothing in of Shatner's actual reaction to having said that. So
Did he get upset?
oh yeah, he was not happy. He was not happy at all.
You know what? I will say this. After the death of his son, I think that doesn't it if there was ever a moment that he had this kind of feeling, that would be a moment that could explain it. I
Sure,
didn't
sure.
feel because of the death of the son, didn't feel that that was completely out of character. I felt that this was like an older guy that, had gone through that experience and was changed by it. You know what I'm saying?
Sure. Yep. Yep.
That's how
I
I
didn't
saw
I
it.
didn't have a big problem with it. And you can even see, like, even in the extended cut, the director's cut of the film, you can see they leave just a second or two in there after he says that line, where you can see he kind of has the emotion on his face is that he kind of regrets that he just said that, right? That was a little too far. But yeah, yeah.
It's the Phobos says, "How do we know it's Tom and not Andre?" Just curious, because if
Too
it's
late for Andre.
too late for Andre. Also, uh, it's after dark. Midnight's Edge, chances are would be Andre. Midnight's Edge
Yeah.
after dark, chances are would be Tom, unless some kind of strange swaparoo happened. That is more likely. So yeah, so that's I feel like we can close the file on that one.
Yeah.
The
I,
time Spock went into the engine, died out. Are you talking about the Wrath of Khan at the end?
yeah.
Where you, that's a very powerful scene. That
Or
end of the
what
Wrath of
what what about when they turn that on its head for the second Star Trek
Khan.
film, the new Star Treks, where
I,
instead it's Kirk that goes in
it was
and
so
dies,
awful. It
and
was
then they
so awful.
bring him back with someone else's blood, bring him back to
That was like J.J. Abrams really exposing what a hack he is. That movie was such crap.
Oh
By
yeah,
the
I do.
way,
You got Spock riding on top of a car, flying through the city while he wails on a guy. And it's like, what?
that was so
This
annoying.
is
It was
so
it was just
bad.
the disgrace. That movie really was a disgrace.
It really was.
The Dead Man 199. I need my pain.
Yeah, from Star Trek 5. I need my pain.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. I've probably seen Star Trek 5 once, so I can't even quote stuff from you. I remember looking at it and thinking, man, this is very disappointing. Maybe after all these years, one day I'll look at it again. But I remember, not being crazy about
Share your pain and gain strength from the sharing.
it.
Yes.
There was something like that. And
I
anyhow,
could talk Star Trek all night long, so we should
we
probably find
probably
something else to talk about.
we should probably shift. What's the next thing? The GTA 6 thing. Well, we talked about it earlier with Tom on his show.
GTA 6, yes.
I guess, we can look
Yeah.
at it.
Well, there's a number of things. Obviously, this was planned to be out at some point this year, and they've announced no, this is going to be pushed back for another year, stating some various different things. That they're going to work on making the game the best game it can be. Right? We're gonna make sure that we've got all the bugs fixed and we've got all it's feature rich and it's gonna be this great experience. And okay, sure. I do want a game that is not broken on day one. That's probably a good idea to have a game that's not broken on the day it's released, as many titles are these days. We definitely don't want another Cyberpunk 2077 issue with a game landing and it being broken on half the platforms that it's available for. I think that would probably be a bad idea. Granted, it's GTA 6. We're gonna have a lot of people who are going to be buying this game, right? It doesn't really matter what it is. It doesn't really matter what trailers they show off. It's GTA 6. People are going to be all over this, and they're going to be buying it now. I will say that some of what they've shown off has definitely been encouraging, right? Uh, they've been showing some more character profiles. The original trailer that came out, right, was really, really focused on the central character being oh, what is her name? Oh, I forgot it. It's centered on the female character, Lucia. That's her name. We got to see that being the central character, and we also got to see a lot of rather thick women walking around, and it seemed very female centric in a lot of ways. It seemed a little like maybe there was something going on here, perhaps that somebody got to Rockstar and they were making a very woke game. The new trailer definitely, it's got more in it that I'm more interested in. Some of the new profiles that have come out talking about some of the different characters that are available there, uh, definitely more interesting than just being a essentially just the ladies version now of GTA 6. But trailers can be deceptive, depending on what they're showing here. Do you want to go through it?
Yeah, we can just look at it.
Yeah.
What are we gonna do?
Yeah. And everybody says, "I've already watched this 5 times."
Yeah, we can just do our commentary.
What you doing up there? I'm just fixing some leaks.
Yeah, we'll say
Seriously,
I
dude,
love
you got
that
some
Stephen
time
Root
on your
is
hands.
here.
I got some properties.
What'd you say?
I will say I love that Stephen Root is here. That character right there, I think his name is Brian, is played by by Stephen Root, who's an actor that I love. He's been in a lot of different stuff.
Yeah, he's like a character actor, so
Yeah.
that's pretty good. Also, he's saying something about fixing leaks. I wonder if that has something to do with leaks from the game, like if that was like a
I
wink.
think that might be a little nod to some of the leaks that
Right.
happened. You'll remember it was last year or 2 years ago. There were some leaks that happened. Actually, ended up in a court case, and someone ended up going to jail, I think, for a bit.
Right, so
Because of it. So yeah, I think that is that is actually a
that's
sly
a wink at the leaks. So he's saying look, and then he's saying
Yeah.
leaks.
What you doing up there?
I'm just fixing some leaks.
Seriously, dude, you got some time on your hands. I got some properties with paying tenants.
Well, that's why you came by?
Just go get me my checks.
See you, Brian. Love you, Jason.
Maybe a weightlifting mini game in there.
I'm here for Lucia Caminos. She's supposed to be getting out.
What's your name?
Jason Duval.
Before we go on, I just want to say Wang Chung, and I told you that recently, like I recently told you that I met both members of that band
Yes.
once. And I'll say that those guys, who are very nice guys actually, man, do they know how to milk that one hit. You know what I mean? Like they
Yes.
have their hit and they are taking that hit to the bank. The fact that it's in this game, it kind of makes me chuckle because, I'm not saying I've never seen, but I'm saying it's rare that a band has had one hit and done so much with it. They still do shows like just because of the popularity of that one song, and there are actually people at their shows wanting to see that song. Just saying.
I seen you here before.
You might have. Hey.
Hey.
We happened to be at the same party.
Hands above your head, now!
You, stay.
I remember in the time.
The new beginnings.
You break the news,
She's the cool one. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Look at the scene. Like he's just like walking in and he's like the second fiddle. Who's the cool one here? Let's look at it. Not only in like everybody was saying, she's flipping him over. He's like, being like, oh, look what we're doing now. And she's like, flips him over.
I mean, men can't be sexually assertive anymore. That would be
no, she has to flip him over, so he understands that he has to be in submission here. She's the boss.
Yeah.
And then this is the part where like she jumps up. She's all like cool.
Hands above your head now.
See, that should have been him saying, and she should have been like, "Hey, can I get you some coffee while you're robbing the place?" But instead, like he's like, "Hey, like, do you need me to bring you anything, darling?" That's what like the vibe is. Sorry, I know this is weird for some people. This is
how
You stay.
You stay.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. Like I think if you read some of the background that's been given to us, so part of what they did, not only did they talk about the delay and then they released the trailer, they released some character profiles as well. One of the things that they talk about is let's see, Jason wants an easy life, but things keep getting harder. He wants to have this this easy life out there, but he meets Lucia. And it says, meeting Lucia could be the best or worst thing to ever happen to him. Jason knows how he'd like it to turn out, but right now it's hard to tell. So I think what they're going to be doing with this story is that, Jason is kind of this hapless dude who's living this life as a construction guy, fix-it man or whatever. But he's fallen hard for Lucia, and she's this badass who she's going to make a life for them by setting up robberies and all of these things. So she's going to be the criminal, and he's going to be the one sort of being pulled along into this
he's
life.
being pulled. He's like the Big Lebowski.
Yeah.
By the way, Isophobo says, "Where my stapler?" Because that's because of Office Space, where Stephen Root plays Milton, I believe. So I understood that reference. Yes. Oh, here Caleb Levine understood it too. Milton, and then
I'll burn down the building.
That was pretty good. Yeah, I miss the simple days of GTA 1 and 2. Yeah, that's
or the simple days of GTA Vice City, and that
she needed to bring a drum. I don't really know what that means, Whalem. But in any case, back to her dominating him.
Yeah.
The new beginnings.
The way they're acting, it's as if they're buddies. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he, from the first second, is kind of this laid back, like the Forrest Gump of like whatever, and she's like all like confident and on top of her game. There's something I feel. It's hard to ignore the energy and the vibe of the performances we see here, because it really looks that he's kind of the reserved one playing second fiddle to her.
Trust me, this place is just the start for us.
Trust me, this is just the start for us. She's the calling of shots. Like he has questions. She don't worry about it. These are typically lines that you think a dude should say, where she's like walking around and saying like, "Yes, sir," like I agree with you. You're so like manly and assertive. But instead, it's like he's like always like this poodle in all the footage we see here. Sorry, ladies, it's nothing personal, okay? I'm not saying like women have a lot of power and influence in the world, and they have a lot of power and influence over men. It's just this kind of like alpha male woman and the beta male thing. I'm just kind of tired of it. So just want to say I'm not trying to put down women or anything like that. Generally speaking, women, but I'll say another thing. Women usually, the way they have the most power is by looking good and by being women. That gives them a lot of power, and women that know how to use that can make probably a man do anything. But this kind of giving her lines of a dude to try to be the assertive one while he's kind of like the beta kind of annoys me.
The only thing that matters is who you know and what you got.
She's the one telling him what to do. She's Scarface. He's Manu.
Gonna do this. We're doing it right.
He's Scarface's little friend.
Yo, D, this full effect. They got your name, address, they got everything. Us cops, we gotta protect each other.
You and me, bro.
Even this thing here. Even this thing. What is this? This annoys me.
Yep, she's got to get in the octagon. Get in some MMA.
We talked about it like earlier. If all the games and all the movies and all the shows were all great, like, and there was no issue with anything, you'd think, okay, they're trying a different idea here, and there isn't necessarily anything wrong with that. It's just at this point, the fact that every single thing has this, it's just I'm growing tired of it. You know what I mean?
You and me, bro. You got this.
We got it.
You got this. We got this. Is this like a We Are Flash? What is this stupid conversation?
Say my city, baby. My city, baby.
Come to Fields Ammunition today. We got more guns than the law allows.
Hey.
He's just laying around in every shot like he's like subdued. He's the Big Lebowski of GTA. She's jumping on him. She's the alpha.
Hey, if you got friends, can you hook me?
I mean, it's a well put together trailer. I'm not going to say that it's not, but man, I don't know what to tell you. Yes,
Yep.
dude, Seth. They're saying it's he's saying it's femme fatigue. It's more like girl boss fatigue.
Yeah.
Honestly, if it wasn't that every movie and show is like this, I honestly wouldn't even notice. But I can't at this point. Like, automatically when I see a trailer like this, it's all the red flags. Now, it could be that later the game will come out and I'll be like, oh, you know what? I was wrong. It looked like red flags, but it's not what I thought. But over the past, 7 years or something, 97% of the time, if you see a trailer like this and you have that spidey sense that they're going for that stupid agenda, it ends up being that agenda.
You go back and you watch Iron Man 2. And you show me one person who was complaining about Scarlett Johansson in that movie being a girl boss.
Nobody.
She comes in, she's using her sexuality, she's using her, her physicality to kind of, take down everybody's guard. And, then when she does actually start engaging with some guys, she's doing all sorts of stuff, kind of using their weight against them. And she's using other weaponry and stuff, like little stun things that she's throwing at them. Like it all works. And it's not showing her throwing around a 220-pound muscle-bound soldier covered in armor, like he was, a bundle of sticks, right? She's using all of her physicality, all of her assets to really be the Black Widow, right? And nobody had a problem with it. It's just that they keep cranking that up to 11, right? They just keep getting more and more absurd with it. And now we have tiny little 5 foot nothing supposedly former Black Widow, who's an advisor to the president, running through a hallway with no weapons at all, just hand to hand taking down giant military soldiers in Brave New World. And it's absurd. It's laughably dumb.
The thing is, you brought up the Brave New World one. I really want to believe that initially, maybe this is my own headcanon, I want to believe that they wanted her to be a superhero, Sabra, or whatever it was supposed to be, and she was supposed to have special powers.
She was supposed to be a mutant or something, right?
Right,
yeah.
which is why she would be able to throw all those men, and then because of the different situations and things that are happening in the world, and they didn't want to go with that idea, they reworked it so that she's like a former widow of, she was trained in Russia or something like that. I think that was bullshit. And I feel, and I could be wrong, that her throwing around men like 3 times her size was done as a leftover from the original storyline.
Oh, that's entirely possible. They shot that movie like 3 times.
Right, so I really think that there was a version of it that she was a mutant of sorts, and then they changed that. Because really, if Kevin Feige really was trying to show that very petite lady throwing around those men, that would be the most girl bossing I've seen maybe in the entire franchise. Like, I don't remember a time where such a petite lady threw around men like that. I mean, I've seen it in other MCU movies, but that one, she's so petite that it's like
Yeah, it goes beyond just being sort of
the other
ridiculous to completely
the other one that
absurd.
was ridiculous, but at least you could claim she had some kind of like special power was Shuri in Wakanda Forever, tossing around Namor or whatever they said his name was, like the way they tried to explain it. That she was like throwing him around. I mean, all of that looked very unrealistic because like the actress weighs 20 pounds, but at least you could try to claim that she had special powers.
Sure.
This one in Brave New World did not have special powers. She was just throwing all these men across the room, and it didn't make any sense.
Yeah, well, they add to her story, "Oh, she's a former, Black Widow." So,
Yeah,
yeah,
no, but that's what I'm saying.
now suddenly a woman who weighs, like, 114 pounds can
That
fling
was
these
like
guys across the room.
Read by Nature says, yeah, she was a mutant called Sabra in the comics, nothing to do with the Red Room. I
Yeah.
know that, and that's why
Yeah.
I'm saying that I really think that they filmed her to be a mutant and they changed whatever creative direction they had.
Yep.
It's the only explanation I have. If that was for real that she threw around those men, then Kevin Feige needs to resign immediately. You know what I mean? He needs to right now run and tender his resignation if that
Yeah.
was for real and not because like due to a reshoot. Even the
Well
fact that it was left in there for a reshoot, it's bad.
Yeah, they lost their marketing deal with the hummus people, and so then the whole Saber thing fell apart. Sorry,
Yes.
that was a terrible joke.
No, I understand. I mean, people that enjoy watermelons, I think they were afraid that they would like watermelons, but they wouldn't like this movie or this character. So I think that in order to appease markets, that there's many markets around the world that are watermelon enthusiasts. I suppose they wanted to tone down whatever was going on there, and their way of doing it, I guess, was to make her, a former widow, like connected with the Red Room. I don't know. It's just all really dumb.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, the girl bossing is just out of control. And so and I think that a lot of people were picking up on that in some of the early trailers, even in this trailer. For GTA 6, really picking up on that. But like I said, we've gotten a little more look at the game. Again, I'm curious to find out, the actual footage that we saw, how much of that was, actual in-game engine that was being rendered, was not just cutscenes. I think a lot of it was curious what it was being rendered on. Was it a PS5? PS5 Plus, Plus, or was it was it being rendered on a PC? Like, what was it? I know that they've been making some deals with Sony, perhaps, so maybe that was footage on a PS5 Plus. I don't know, but overall, I think genuinely it looks very good. At least what we've seen of it, GTA 6 looks fantastic. That new engine, that upgraded engine that they have, looks really great.
It does look nice. Yes.
I hope that that they've got a good voice cast that they're bringing. They've along with the trailer, like I said, they've been opening up a little bit more about some of the other characters that are going to be a big part of the story. Still seems like it's going to focus around Lucia, but I don't know. Maybe that's part of what they're going to spend their time over this next year making some adjustments to. Is maybe there's going to be a little bit less Lucia, maybe there's going to be a little bit more of some of the other characters. Maybe they're going to change up some of the story some, because genuinely it looks like the engine's in a really good place. Phantom Monk says is a new engine. It is an upgrade to the Rage engine. They used that for GTA 5 and for Red Dead Redemption 2. It's an upgraded version of that. So it is their own internal engine. They haven't jumped ship like everyone else to use some of the other engines uh, that are out there from third parties. So they are still using their own engine, and yeah, it genuinely looks really good. The character animations are there. Uh, you know the look of the skin and clothing and the environments all looking wonderful. So obviously, like I said, we want to know a little bit more about how that was rendered and everything, but does look really good. There's some there are some interesting characters that play into it, and I like the environment that the game is into. Vice City is still my favorite of the original games. I love that 80s environment in Miami and everything that goes on there. It's going to be focused. The game is going to be focused in Vice City and the area around it. And I really like that. I like the 80s vibe they're going for, even though it is going to be taking place in modern day. So there's a lot that I'm interested in here, but at the same time, like if they are going to come out and try and charge $100 for this out of the gate, just for the cheapest version, as a lot of the rumors have been, have been, swirling around about that. I'm not going to be in for it. I'll wait. Uh, I don't do enough gaming these days to say, "Oh, I gotta buy it for $100 on day one so I can play it." And again, it's a year off. There's going to be a lot of other things coming out between here and there.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens. I guess Read by Nature says whatever they were running it on, expect those graphics to take a major dip in online mode like they do in GTA 5.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Actually, I'm not entirely sure at what level the online stuff is going to be. I had heard that perhaps even with a year wait, the multiplayer might not be launching alongside the single player game. That the single player game would be its own thing, and then the online would come later. So yeah, I'd have to read up on that again.
Isophobo says nothing about Shuri made sense at all. I'm sure she will only be more in the next movie.
She'll be more Riri in the next movie.
Silver Server is a woman. We are fucked.
Yeah.
Well, she is. Well, what can we do?
What can you do?
Well, I mean, first of all, I think we've gone over our main topics today. Let's see if there's anything else. When we hang out here, if anybody has questions, I will say this because I haven't got a chance. Did you see what went on with Doctor Who this weekend? I was just so busy. I would have made a video, but I didn't have time. Did you see what went on with this?
I saw that they had another episode that came out, and I've heard that it's generally hated. I haven't really heard much of anything else. So
I mean, basically, what happens in the episode is that the villain is like a right wing podcaster who's a straight white male, the only one you'll see there. It starts off that he seems like a good guy, but then like in the twist, he's the big villain, and it to say that it like goes off the rails is an understatement. What happens at the end is beyond the fact that they have to put this like right-wing podcaster in his place and show the world that he tells lies and stuff like that. There's a weird scene at the end where Nishuti Gatwa like lectures him in a way that feels like they're just lecturing to you off screen. It's not even like you're not immersed in Doctor Who's world, like in the Doctor's world anymore. This isn't Doctor Who. This is just Nishuti Gatwa lecturing this person that's playing a right-wing podcaster, and he's like, people want to feel loved and safe, and you sit around here and you ruin everything. And it's like it's as if like Russell T Davies is so bitter at this point that all he's doing is making episodes to explain how bitter he is. There was one episode that like a straight white male was a gamer, so the twist was that he's the villain, and it's like he uses the same twist over again. Now there's like a guy who seems like a decent guy, whatever, this and this. By the end of it, he's like the big bad guy, and they even have to like explain to him how terrible he is. it's just like, to say that there's lecturing here is an
Yeah.
understatement. And at this point, like, nobody involved in this show is trying to entertain anybody. This is Russell T Davies having like a creative meltdown because he wanted to come in here and show people how he makes the show woke, and he thought that everybody would like be singing in his praises. But it doesn't work that way. The fact that years ago you did something good and maybe you had goodwill of the fans, if you're just going to go in and take a dump on them, they're not going to like you. I don't understand all these fucking weirdos that they just do this every time, and then they're like, "Oh, we can't believe this is happening." Believe it, asshole. That's what happens when you take a dump on the very people that you owe your career to. If people didn't watch your stupid thing back in the day, I mean, it wasn't stupid, he actually did a good job, you wouldn't have a career. The reason this guy has like this illustrious career, because that's what put him on the map. And instead of going back and like treating the fans with respect, he wants to give them the middle finger every second. I mean, man, talk about going from being like the hero showrunner to like the biggest zero on the face of the earth. That's Russell T Davies.
Yep. Oh, sorry, yawning. Getting late.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, it's okay. Read by nature. Who did they model off? Drinker, Quartering, Nerdrotic, or Rogan? I don't think that Rogan watches Doctor Who. He didn't look like any of those people. He didn't look like anybody that you mentioned here.
We both get booted. I'm back. Oh, there's Price. Hey there. I think we both got kicked at the same time.
We're back and
there
better
you
than
are.
ever.
There you are.
So, who did they model off at? Drinker, Quartering, Nerdrotic, or Rogan? I don't know. It didn't look exactly like any of them, but this is how Russell T Davies in general feels about, like, right-wing people. Like right-wing people and podcasters and YouTubers. It's like, enough having meltdowns about YouTubers and stuff. Nobody's obligated to like your show. I've noticed that when something is good and people get excited over it, you'll see a lot of things like all across YouTube falling into place. And I think that when Russell T Davies was given the reins again, and he said, like, he's returning to the show, people had really hoped that he would do something good. Everybody was cautious because of this era of wokeness, but really, really hoped that because in the past he knew how to deliver good Doctor Who, that he could do it again. And even I was willing to give him a chance. So whatever goodwill he had, he spent it, and he ended up being just the biggest asshole, tarnishing his legacy. He will never be looked at the same way. It's so crazy to be in a place that like you're really respected and liked by an entire fan base, and really, if you're in a situation like that, it's best not even to return. If you're going to just return and give everybody the middle finger, this is one of those cases where you have everything and you just take a dump on it, and it's his legacy, completely stained and tarnished now.
Yep. You can't even go back and look at the stuff that he made before.
No, I
and
can't
take it
look
with
at
the
him
same
or anything he
seriousness.
done the same way. He it's so bad. It also reminds me, and this people sometimes get disappointed when I say this, as much as I liked Star Wars, and I to say that I like Star Wars is like an understatement. So important to me, those movies. They were so important growing up. I was so excited when they were making the sequel trilogy, and because of everything I've seen over the past several years, I don't feel as excited about Star Wars as I used to. It's unfortunate because like it used to give me such a special feeling just to think about those movies and what they, meant to me. And I don't feel that way anymore. And I know that's bad to say, but that's the truth. And I feel like with Doctor Who as well, things that I even liked in the past, like I'm grumpy now. I feel like, Russell T Davies has really taken a dump on his own work. I'll still watch, like, I still like classic Who.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah. That's
Like Tom
really
Baker,
something
you
that
you
yeah.
can't touch Tom Baker era, you know what I mean? Because
No, not at all.
at
It's
least
fantastic.
exactly, and the thing is with the problem with the Star Wars thing is that they took a character like Luke Skywalker and ruined him. They haven't ruined Tom Baker for me.
No, not at all.
Haven't ruined him.
God. some of the recent stuff has ruined the 10th Doctor for me, though.
Oh, for
I don't
sure, for
like,
sure.
I wanna go back and watch some of the, earlier
Ugh.
seasons, and then I'm like, I see Tenet there, and I'm like, "I can't even, like, watch, like, you're awful. I I want nothing to do with you anymore." There were so many good stories that were told, and they even tried to screw one of them up recently with one of these awful shooty episodes with Midnight, right? Midnight, such a fantastic, thriller episode, and they try and screw that up by trying to create a sequel to it. It's terrible.
By the way, I want to show you what the guy looked like. The guy that they're. Are you ready?
Oh, sure, yeah.
This was the podcaster they were going for in the show.
Yeah. Look how villainous he is. So white and male. He's so evil.
And the thing is like they couldn't help themselves.
All
At the
white.
beginning, he's like super nice and like seems likable, and he gets into a relationship with Ruby, and they kind of like each other, and all this stuff. And then there's just a moment, and it doesn't even make sense if you think about it. There's so much suspension and disbelief because I think they built that whole episode. I guess Russell T Davies, like at this point, his agenda is clouding any kind of writing ideas. Like he'll write the dumbest ideas and that don't even make sense just so he can get his agenda across, which is a shame because he didn't used to be that way. Like I'm supposed to believe that this guy, like his whole life, built this kind of impression that he's like a nice guy doing a podcast. And then one day it turned out that he was the biggest villain in the world just so he can like screw over Ruby Sunday. It was so stupid. Man, was it dumb. I would say there was a positive thing in this episode that you barely saw Nshudi Gatwa and like Belinda in it, which was good. The problem is that they filled it with an entire like straight white male bad narrative.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who this guy does. This guy look like anybody? He doesn't really look like anybody.
Not particularly. I actually was thinking I wouldn't have been surprised if he looked like a Matt Walsh or something, but no.
No, he didn't even look like him. I couldn't
yeah.
think of a guy that he looked like. I'll give Russell T Davies that. He didn't choose a guy that's an obvious like Gary or an obvious, I don't know what they were going for, but he doesn't really look like him.
Yeah, he's not like an obvious like Ben Shapiro knockoff or something, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm sure the actor that they hired is probably gay. But yeah.
In any case, Kayla Levine says it's the evil Norm Macdonald. Elizabeth Quinn says Matt Christensen. I don't know who is Matt Christensen. I don't know who that is.
Oh yeah. I didn't know his name, but I looked it up. Yeah. Maybe, I don't know. The hair's all wrong for Matt Christensen, but yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what they were. It wasn't an obvious one. This one. I'm going to be honest with you. It wasn't obvious.
It's just generally just right ring. Right.
I could tell a joke now, but I don't want to be. I don't want to be Imus in the morning, so I'm gonna.
No, don't want to do that. Don't do that. We don't have enough money to be Imus.
We don't have enough money to be Imus. Even though we're Imus in the evening or the nighttime, we can't, or Imus in the early morning, but we can't be any of those. Whatever joke you had, like you understand me and I understand you, and we won't say what the joke was.
Yeah. Oh boy. Yep. No, this is awful. Yeah, I'm gonna have to watch. I usually I don't watch these episodes myself. More often I'll watch your reviews, Price, or I'll watch.
Right, people were waiting for it, and I was so busy, and I just didn't get a chance. Maybe
I'll watch yours, or I'll watch Disparu's, or usually I'll watch both. So
Disparu does, of course, good ones.
Yeah.
The advantage of mine is like I think that with Disparu, it takes more time because
it's a long. Yeah, his reviews take a long time. Yeah.
I think that my strength is that within like 8 to 10 minutes, you'll get everything, the analysis, the episode, and you'll get enough like visually, you'll even get like a recap that even if you've never watched the episode, you can move forward almost as if you've watched it. You know what I mean? That's what my reviews aim to do. By the way, I didn't get a chance to watch Andor today. Do you watch any of it?
No, I had too much on my plate today
I
to
didn't
make that
either.
happen. So yeah, that's probably going to happen tomorrow. I'll probably have time to pack in all 3 episodes
I will
tomorrow.
try to get to it as well.
Yep.
I'm dreading it at this point. It is
Yeah,
so
the first
boring.
6 episodes have not left me wanting more.
Chris Gore.
We've talked about on numerous times. We talked about how Chris Gore saying, "Oh, it gets better. Oh,
I like
really
Chris
kicks
Gore.
off."
I like Chris Gore, but
I do
if
too.
if
I do
you're
too.
listening, which I'm sure you're not, but if you were listening to this, Chris Gore, I want to tell you that I watched the 6 episodes and I don't like it. But you know what? Before we go, I do have something that I can at least share with people that may be of interest to somebody. Are you ready?
Go for it.
Let me see. I saw a movie that maybe 2 people would watch.
Yeah. The 2 People movie.
The 2 People movie. Okay. So I watched this movie. I don't know if you've watched it. Let's see if I can share this.
Yeah. No, I did actually see someone's review of this earlier this week, but I'm interested to hear what you have to say.
Okay, so I saw this movie. I think that it was, in the theater for a bit, and it's kind of on its way out. I like to see it. I mean, I like the actors in it, and it sounded like a story that... It sounded like the type of movie that I was sort of a target audience for. Because it's sort of a revenge movie. This isn't much of a spoiler. Any trailer you watch will say it. It's a CIA kind of analyst guy that's more of a computer guy, that his wife is killed, and he starts trying to look into what happened to her, and he wants to get even with the people that did whatever they did. And the idea is that he's kind of more of a quirky computer guy, but he wants to be more of a combat type of guy that goes and takes people out. I thought there was an interesting idea here. I like the performances by Rami Malek. I like the performance by Lawrence Fishburne. There's a few other good actors in this movie. I didn't dislike, I didn't dislike the casting. And overall, it's a type of movie that you have to suspend a lot of disbelief. But if you just want to watch kind of a cool, relatively okay, I don't... cool is a strong word. Enjoy, like, somewhat enjoyable action movie with that kind of angle, it was serviceable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I enjoyed sitting there and watching it. I'm not going to say like I walked out and thought, oh, this is the best movie I've seen. There were things also that you could sit around and look at the plot and start like poking through little holes in it and things like that. It's not that like it stands above any kind of scrutiny. There's also things that technology that they introduce here that I think is a lot of times in movies when they show hacking and things like that, it feels unrealistic even today. I mean, even today that a guy just opens a laptop and like is in control of the entire universe in 1 second, it's kind of weird. But if you let go of that and just come in looking for like a almost like a B-level thriller action or whatever it is, it's okay. So I didn't not enjoy it. I enjoyed it, but I enjoyed it for whatever it was. We were talking about it earlier, and I think Vex also made a comment. Vex, who's probably sleeping by now because my voice put her to sleep. That sometimes a movie can be just okay, but you could still enjoy it, and I think that that's a good example of it. For me, I'm a fan of cinema. I like watching movies. So if the movie isn't trying to lecture me or talk down to me or tell me what an idiot I am, and it just wants to give me some kind of story to escape to, so it's not going to be a movie that I'll give a 90 out of 100 to. But I think that it's it's serviceable enough.
Yeah. Istafos mentions, and I was going to bring this up. Yeah, this is actually a remake. There was a previous film in 1981 that was a Canadian film.
Did not know that.
Yeah, it starred It starred. Oh, who was it? Did Istvo say in there? Yeah, John Savage. That's who it was. Yeah, John Savage and Christopher Plummer were the leads for that one. And I believe I've actually seen that film because it sounds really familiar. Because when I saw the trailer for this one, I thought that's interesting because that sounds like something like I think I may have seen it on like HBO or something, like back in the 80s. But yeah,
I didn't even know all that. But you know what? Like I said, uh, I don't know what it was remaking. I don't know what it was doing. All I can say is I sat there, had really little expectations, thought it was like an okay B movie for whatever genre it's supposed to be. Certainly flawed. Certainly suspension of disbelief is needed. Certainly you can poke holes in the story. But like I said, I'm sometimes in the mood just to see a movie, and I don't need every movie to be like the greatest thing that ever happened. There's nothing that I didn't feel there's nothing overly offensive in the movie, or it doesn't do any of those things that annoy us for the most part. So there's that. I know it doesn't sound like a ringing endorsement, but I'd give, I'm not as excited as the popcorn meter here with the 88%. Not that I even know if that is anything reliable. And I'm not as, agreeable on the 60% from the, mainstream critics. I may have given it something like the Thunderbolts thing, like a 67 out of 100, maybe something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would have to watch it again to kind of make a determination, but I would stop short of giving like a 70. Maybe if I was in the best mood, best of best moods, like a 7 out of 10. But honestly, I think that like six. You know what? I'll be nice. 6.8 out of 10.
Oh, okay. What did you think of Rami Malek? He's really hit and miss for me. Did you enjoy him in this?
I thought he was pretty good in this. The thing
Okay.
is that Rami Malek, and it's nothing personal against him, he has a very, very quirky vibe and personality.
Oh yes, he does.
And at least what I thought that worked in this movie is he's supposed to be a bit eccentric and strange because he's more of a computer guy. I think that like him being a little awkward and strange fit this specific role. It's just movie. If you took a movie that didn't want that wanted him to play like the most like regular character, I think that that's where it doesn't work as well for him. But if you want him to be like an eccentric guy that does like hacking and stuff, kind of like on Mr. Robot, he's a good fit for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So overall, I liked his performance in this. He didn't bother me, and I liked his performance here. I thought he did fine. Lawrence Fishburne did fine. The movie is sort of fine. An IGN 7 out of 10. Bingo has my
There you
test.
go. Yeah, 7 out of 10.
Something like that. I'm gonna get, like I said, I gave it like a 6.8 out of 10. I think that's fair enough. It's not like gonna win anybody. Like it's not the best thing ever. It's if you're looking and you need to see a movie, and that's the movie that's there. I didn't like again. I say this recently about a few movies. I didn't suffer while watching it.
Well, that's good. I would hate for you to have to suffer while you watch.
I did not suffer. That's what I can say. And I think we've covered all of our things today.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a way we can look back and say bye
Yeah,
to
we
people.
can say thank you to some people hanging out with us here in the chat. So let's see, we had over on Rumble, we had John Cochet, who said John said that he was watching us for the first time live.
Oh, that's nice,
Today.
and I
So
hope he subbed.
enjoys. It says enjoyed your show for a while now. So it was the first time getting to watch
That
live.
really means a lot to us.
Yeah.
And also, if you're watching this for the first time, anybody, please subscribe. If you're on YouTube, do a subscription. It's just a click of a button. It means a lot to us. Same with Rumble. If you're on Rumble watching, if you can do a like, and if you're not already following us, please follow us. All that stuff is greatly appreciated. That's really all we ask for. We're not demanding anything else. But but go on. Sorry.
No, that's fine. We also had Kivo 1961, Bingo Hazmet, Elizabeth Quince, Dude Bro Seth 420, Bigot on Socialist Media, Reach'em 842, One Dirty Bird. We also had Istaphobos joining us over there and leaving us some Rumble rants. So thank you again, Istaphobos. Phantom Monk, High Life, and Folsom Lockdown. So yes, and then John Cochet saying hey there again. So yeah, good to see you. John C. O'Shea. That's how he wants it said. John C. O'Shea. So, all right. Let's look over here on YouTube. So, we had Zun RJ5 or ZUN RJ5. Jonathan Conroy, the Dead Man, also leaving us some super chats. Thank you again, Dead Man. Ace Hanlon, Vex Electronica. Good night, Vex. Caleb Levine, Kelly Hans, Maroxtro, Isphobos, also over on YouTube. Adam Gray, they are our fantastic mod. Read by Nature, D Bud Martin, Ms. Sparkles, Bush McFadden, Sean Green, Ams S, Marla Sharondoff, Yitis, Tim Hayes, Tom over there with Midnight's Edge After Dark, popping in for just a little bit here. E. Clay Thomason, Whalem 03, and Granola Grin. I think I got everybody in there, but if I missed someone, my apologies. We're always glad to see you here on The Night Owl.
Yep.
Yep.
I agree with everything you said, Professor. And is there anything else you wanted to talk about? B-roll or something?
Oh no. Yeah, obviously on Friday we'll be doing B-sides over on the B-roll stage on Adam's channel with Adam and Babs, Smilex, everybody. So we'll and I'll mention that again. Make sure and post links and everything for that on.
Thanks for the stream. Take it easy.
So,
thanks, Bigot on Socialist Media. Phantom Monk. Thanks, dudes in chat. Good times. You know, nerds. Marla Sharondoff, I wash you every week. Price. Thank you, Marla.
Yeah.
Marla's a friend of the channel, and we're always happy to see you here. Yeah, and John O'Shea, thank you for hanging out with us.
Yeah.
Granola Grin. I see a lot of people suddenly popped up like 5 minutes before we left. But it's nice to see everybody here as always.
Yep. Void King. Hey there, Void King.
Void King. No, it's not too late. You can rewind it, but yeah, we're kind of winding down here.
Wrapping up. Yeah.
Wrapping up. But we'll be here on Thursday at 11:45 p.m. Eastern on the Night Owl, and we're going to be hanging out with you all. And please, like I said, if you haven't subscribed already, do it. Whatever platform you're on. Rumble, you should sign up and follow us and do a like and do comments. YouTube, you should subscribe and like and leave comments and yeah, all that good stuff. So on that very positive note, I want to wish you all a good night, including you, Granola Grin. And we will see you here on Thursday. Bye.
Bye-bye.